Everything is set up all right. This is my first time broadcasting since, well, since the update video last month, which I think everything will be fine. Uh, this version of OBS, or perhaps just this operating system, has some difficulties picking up a few windows. So I've had to necessitate do a display capture, which I will show off in just a moment. Today's feature is going to be a choose-your-own-adventure story, Slammed, wrestling themed. You may recall Heroes Rise the Prodigy that I did a few years back. I do plan on doing the second story of that. That one is a default polish off a RTR request that I had. I also did Mecha Ace 2 years back. That was the last of these stories I've done.
We taxed the throat rather mightily.
There was a lot that happened that year, but a lot. It's been a while since I've done like an audiobook style, like sit down and read aloud for a while. But
we've got some of the old capabilities back.
And yeah, we're gonna be doing a little bit of reading. It's gonna be great. Maybe. It also might not actually be great. I'm still trying to get used to where I have my microphone mounted and like speaking into it. I will doubtlessly adjust it 97 times over the course of this broadcast. Just so unused to. And it doesn't help that I spend so little time on like my computer or using my microphone. The last time I used this thing was Caves of Cud, and yeah, just a lot of time spent not fiddling with electronics anymore. Anyway. So, I got limited real estate to work with on my screen for testing all of my cool options. You're gonna see a little bit behind the scenes of how the sausage works at some point, due to the inherent tragedies of display capture. Let's stop teasing though. Let's get the show on the road. And make some of these things vanish, like that, of course, and of course my capture window. Like that. How about that? Chapter 1, The Backyard Basher. I increased the size of the text a little bit. I might do so even more. I upped it by 2 steps. We'll see how comfortable I feel. I think I've already changed my mind and we'll up it one more time. Doing this on a 1280 by 720 window, so gotta work with what you got. Chapter 1, The Backyard Basher. Click. The scene unfolds like a dream, at least at first. There you were, standing tall and proud, arms outstretched, an invitation to worship. All around you, voices obliged. They were chanting a name. Your name. This was the moment you had been waiting for. You hear that, chat? The moment you've been waiting for. You soaked everything in for just one more second. What was the harm? Then crouched atop the turnbuckle and launched yourself high into the air, spinning like an Olympic diver before pinning your prey. Or at least, that was the plan. Your left foot at the top rope had other ideas.
This is going to hurt.
Slam! You hit the mat hard, and your head did a little bounce, arousing a sympathetic intake of breath from the small segment of the audience that wasn't laughing their lungs out. You lay unmoving at the feet of your opponent. Okay, Chad. This is where the sausage gets made, and it's gonna be a little spammy. This is my first time using this, but, bear with me here. So I'm gonna put in a cool poll into, well, it's gonna be overlaid on the screen. And you can interact with that poll by typing the number 1 or the number 2 in this particular case. And that will cast your votes, and the overlay will update accordingly. I know, behold the sorcery. And to show what it looks like in my little browser...
Ta-da!
How about that? Incredible sorcery. I know. It gets a little spammy with, like, the chat overlay, but it'll be fine. Everyone only gets one vote. It doesn't matter whether you're a VIP or a subscriber or, I don't know, you... the only other examples I thought of were lewd. It doesn't matter. What matters is that the poll is finished, and we're gonna go with the option 1, alright? Hopefully we can keep the poll times to like around 1 minute. We'll see where the road takes us. Anyway, there's your sausage. Try not to be too alarmed. I should also make that disappear. Bam! Big Benji from the Kirby Men's Wrestling School. Benji stared down at you with a gap-toothed smile, shrugged, then threw a punch straight down at your face. He heaved you up across his shoulders, and before 2 seconds had passed, you were in the air again. Slam! 1, 2, 3. You remember how much you disliked the Big Brit when you were classmates at the KMWS. The feeling was obviously mutual. Unfortunately, Matt Kirby knew that you and Benji were the best students at his school. Well, Star, you can be here. Which was why Benji was almost always your opponent during the unpaid exhibitions Kirby would put up to defray the expenses of your schooling. This is also why you feel as if your professional wrestling career was shortened by a decade even before it began. The man turned every match into an actual beatdown. Those ham-sized fists hurt, even when all you're doing is watching a video of the match. A geeky as hell cruise. Alright, click. So, what do you think? Asked Sam. With the video on pause, you find yourself once again aware of your surroundings. You're in a dingy studio apartment filled with a strange combination of computer equipment and wrestling merchandise. It's like a Circuit City... Alright, we won't make this official poll, but, how many of you have been inside a Circuit City? Had a one-night stand with a Toys R Us? Follow-up, how many of you have been inside a Toys R Us? You're sitting on the edge of a bed, one of only 2 spots in the room cleared for human habitation. Sam McEnroe sits on the other, a chair, a steel chair naturally, drawn up close to a table that groans under the weight of recording equipment and video monitors. Sam is the vice president of promotions for the Borderless Wrestling Federation, which means that he spends most of his day uploading grainy, shaky cam footage to YouTube. Let's take a look. Folks who said both. Folks, Star used to work for Toys R Us. What's a Circuit City? Yep. Shaky or not, those videos received thousands of views from the diehard Bowsers. As the BWF fans call themselves, and they're one of the reasons why the BWF has been making serious waves on the independent wrestling circus. Well, that and the fact that they occasionally hold matches in a ring attached to a flatbed truck. A moving flatbed truck. Time for my Go-Go Gadget ternary choice. One, it'd be great if I had a match like that. 2, I hope they don't put me in a match like that. 3, I'll wrestle in whatever match they put me in. There's a number of different overlays, or like pole designs. I chose a StarCraft one. I liked the look of it. But I didn't spend that much time analyzing it. Ooh, that's nice. If I've got the browser window minimized, I can look down at my start menu, and it shows me which of the poll options is leading the poll. Now that's good design. That is good design. I dig it. Alright. This poll is over. Choice 3 wins. I'll wrestle in whatever match they put me in. Signing with the BWF at your age and with your experience, or more accurately, your lack thereof, is quite the coup. Sam's in charge of putting together a series of vignettes to hype your debut. He's here to make you look good. Or at least, that's what you were led to believe. You look at the shot of your ignominious defeat. Ignominious defeat, then back to Sam. I was thinking of using this in your first video. Really captures your, you know, essence. I don't really think... Oh, don't worry, I already uploaded it. We're up to 5,000 views already. I hope it goes viral. He has a smile on his face and a twinkle in his eye. He's enjoying this. Doesn't he know who you are? You're create your own. What's your wrestling name? What was the guy's name in Mega Ace? Rico Rico? Is that what we were called? Head of the Lance? Was it Rico Rico? Man. It's been 2 years, I can't remember. How can I not remember that bit of esoteria? Was there any other, like, clever things that come to mind? There's plenty of other, like, dumb names. Call ourselves King Kong Bundy. In memorial. But Rico Rico. That'll be fine. You're Rico Rico. You're a professional wrestler, and to see that smirk on his face makes you feel... 1, angry, I will not be disrespected. 2, amused, a bit of friendly hazing, is it? 3, resigned, I'm used to people laughing at me. We'll see, Wembley, we'll see. I have seen a little bit of quote-unquote gameplay for this, but, it was a long while back. I watched a friend engage in a bit of it. We'll let the poll go a minute. My one dissatisfaction with it is merely that, it floods the chat with voting messages. On the flip side, you don't have to interact with a different interface. Besides the chat in order to vote. You can see the poll options like right there in the chat, so the poll can't hide from you. And you interface with it right there. Alright, the poll is done. Option 2 wins. Amused. Well, that would... Using straw poll takes you to a different website to interact with something. This keeps you, like, on this website, so you're not having to click and access a different thing. That's, one of the reasons why I enjoyed Hitbox's polling, which is now Smashcast polling, and Mixer's polling. Keeps you there on the website. Ah, now you get it. Well, I don't have the luxury of using sarcasm anymore. It has to be super serious Grimgrams. There's no way that Sam would sabotage the promotion he worked for just to mess with a new guy. And making a debut... More to the point. I have to look out for people to ensure they don't get confused by me. And making a debuting wrestler look like a lemon puts no butts in seats. You grin. You almost had me there. Almost? Sam shakes his head chuckling. You should have seen your face, man. Well... You decide not to press the point. It is my career we're talking about here, after all. Never fear, Rico Rico. That was just a little welcome to BWF gift to see if you're a cool cat or one of those hair trigger types. Did I pass? You'll do, Sam says, then smiles. Come on. Let's make you look good. We got a lot of good stuff here, Sam says, bringing up small windows of match footage in one of his larger computer monitors. I'm impressed. You've got better quality videos than wrestlers who have been working the circuit for years. You nod. Matt knows what promoters look for. Matt Kirby, or Killer Kirby as he is better known, is a former wrestler who worked all over the world and even made it all the way to the GWA. Sure, he'd spend his years there as a jobber, never winning any matches, but he kept his eyes and ears open and learned from the best, not just from the wrestlers. Kirby paid attention to every aspect of the business. It was this wisdom that he passed down at his school, at least to the few to whom he still opened its doors. Alright, ternary choice option. 1, I feel lucky he took me in. 2, I got my money's worth, I suppose. 3, I still resent the hoops he made me jump through. Nice to drink milk with him. Been a long while since that happened. Milk is my favorite beverage. was a time I thought I'd have to give it up. I still might. Looks like 1 is where the chat is strongly leaning towards. The 1? Yes, the 1. Very good, Grimith. Like you know how to communicate using your words. I'm proud of you. 1 it shall be. I feel lucky he took me in. I'm a nice man. What we need to do now, Sam says, is tighten our focus. We need to highlight your strengths and cover up any weaknesses. And a big part of that will be the type of footage that we select. He leans back in his chair. Now, lucky for you, we've got a wide assortment of footage. I've divided the clips into 3 broad categories. Sam walks you through each group. The first shows you doing a lot of power moves, suplexes. Big fan of the Northern Lights suplex, that's my favorite suplex. Power bombs, vicious clotheslines. The second group shows off your mat skills with a lot of chain wrestling, extended sequences of you and your opponent countering each other's holds. The third group features promos you've cut before and after matches, challenging or mocking your opponents. Which group should I draw most heavily from? So, for this this trailer package that's being made to advertise Rico Rico here, there are a lot of power moves, a lot of technical mat skills, or a lot of speech, a lot of chatter. Calling folks soft and sloppy. SAWFT. That's right. Talk to people about coffee creamer and grains of sand in the desert and Bibles, John 3:16. Yes, Shockmaster. Very good, Metal Slime Hunt. This poll is over. The first group it is, power moves. You consider your strength to be your greatest asset. You're no hulking behemoth, but then you've always been stronger than you looked. You've never faced an opponent you couldn't lift off the ground. This group, you say, pointing to a clip where you managed to lift Big Benji and slam him onto the mat. Alright, Sam says, the vignettes will focus on your inhuman power. Well, you wouldn't go that far, but it is nice to see him enthusiastic. Great, great. I'm getting excited, Sam rolls his sleeves. You're not quite sure how that will help him type better, but whatever. We're going to be doing more than one vignette, though, so I'll be showing off other aspects of your game as well. But just to narrow things down, is there a group that you don't want me to emphasize in the vignettes? Also, one thing I'm going to have to remember is hiding the poll from the overlay. Gotta click that button regularly. So, are we gonna tell Sam here to not include mat wrestling in the vignettes, or not include speech and talking and communicating in the vignettes? Are we gonna be the silent type who relies on a Bobby Heenan or a Paul Heyman or a Mr. Racket himself? Or a Gendo? Alright, looks like we're going to be staying away narrowly. We will be staying away from mat skills. I think the question was worded in a little bit of a confusing way, but it's okay. It'll be fine. The second group is what we're staying away from. I'm not as smooth, technically, as I'd like to be, you say. Not that you need to explain that further after reliving that botch with Benji. Say no more, Sam says. I'll get you over by focusing on your strength and your promos. Hey there, Boo Bear. Sam chooses a few more video clips, making sure that you agree before adding them to a folder with your name on it. Okay, this thing is starting to take shape in my head. It's going to be epic. Sam's furiously shifting files around on his computer, but then he stops and whacks his forehead. Almost forgot. Man, Gator would have killed me. He rummages under his desk for something and comes with a slim folder. Inside is a copy of your contract with the BWF. Just fill in the blanks. I wasn't sure about your full name, so I left that part for you as well. The first blank is for your full name. No, we go by the same thing. Rico? Michael Cole, Bruce Lee, Rico.
I know what you're trying to do. It won't work.
Damn it, Steel Shadow. Bob Page is onto you. I think 2 overlays popped up there. We're going to let that slide. Look at that after this stream.
I know what you're trying to do. It won't work.
Yeah, I have a thing from Tippy, and I have a thing from Streamlabs. Before I started the stream, I hadn't hooked up, Tippy to Twitch, and I just had left it, like, hooked on Mixer. But, since I hooked it up to Twitch, that also means the subs go through there as well, so I have the sub alerts running through Tippy as well as through Streamlabs. Yeah, that's what I should do, Metal Slime Hunt. Just have double celebrations. Like, a bit of thunder from Daggerfall, and then fucking Bob Page. It's great. Anyway. Oh, one more thing. You look up from the contract to see Sam still typing away at his computer. Have you and Gator agreed on whether you'll be coming in as a face or as a heel? That'll color the tone of the vignettes. Vinny Gator, we'll call him Gator. Old Gator there is the promoter and booker of the BWF, and he was the one who personally recruited you into the promotion. After a few meetings with him, you both agreed that it would be best if you came in as a... One other thing I like about this, this poll, like, overlay, is that, before the stream, I saved a bunch of different, like auto-poll, like, things for, like, questions I might ask my viewers a lot. So I have, like, a choice with 2 polls, or a poll with 2 choices, 3 choices, 4 choices, 5 choices, 6 choices. Very pleased with that. It saves me on key inputs I'd otherwise have to do. Looks like this guy with the power moves, and with a bit of talking prowess, gonna be a heel. Oh yes, yes. Gonna be a jerk. I like it. Gotta be arrogant, perhaps, or maybe it'll be a chicken shit heel. Overconfident to the extreme, irrational. You're not really sure whether you should take that as a compliment, but as Vinny said, if they're booing you, then they'll pay to see you. I actually do like Taichi, though I have a friend I regularly watch in JPW with. I say regularly, it's been a while, since who strongly dislikes Taichi. A heavyweight and junior heavyweight pants. It sounds like Vinny, alright, Sam laughs. You've got your work cut out for you. We've got lots of great heels at the BWF. Sam squints at the screen, then shifts to his web browser. Wait a second. You were the 184-pound NCAA champ a year ago, right? Let's grab some footage of you're on your feet and at Sam's side before you're even aware of what you're doing. Hey! He shouts. You realize that you have his right hand in a tight grip. That hurts!
Nothing from that tournament,
you say, your voice sounding strangely calm in your ears. Okay, let go! You let him pull his hand away and he massages it gingerly. Geez, all you had to do was say so. You mumble an apology, or at least you think that you do. The rest of the session goes by in a blur, and you're only vaguely aware of Sam telling you that a new vignette will be released every Monday until your debut match in 3 weeks. You leave Sam's apartment and somehow make your way to the bus stop. It's only a 10-minute ride to your aunt's place, your aunt, where you're staying before your first BWF show, but your mind is miles away, back in your hometown of... parts unknown. Chat, tell us about Parts Unknown. Is Parts Unknown a quiet place where not much happens? A bustling city? A place where rich and poor mix? A place where rich and poor mingle? Or a rural town? Parts Unknown is coming across as a rural area here. No one wants it to be a bustling city. Kind of hard for it to be Parts Unknown if it were a bustling city. I understand. There is some leaning towards a place where rich and poor... You know, one other nice thing, too, is that for, like, people who are viewing this broadcast after the fact, you know, or a local recording, the poll options are actually overlaid on the screen, so I don't have to, like, read them out for people to follow along. It's great. Anyway, a rural town it is. Such is our strength. You learned a lot about hard work on the farm, and you were certainly fed enough to make sure you had the strength to work harder than most. You'll never forget your home, but it's time to leave the nest. Now, whether or not you can fly, that's the question.
3 weeks later, the Araneta Town Hall.
Good to meet you. I'm Rico Rico. Have you seen Sam McEnroe? One by one, I don't know, can we have, like, a ostentatious, like, voice for, Rico Rico? Good to meet you. No.
Good to meet you.
No.
I said it's a good to meet you. I'm Rico Rico. Have you heard the good word lately?
No. Good to meet you. I'm Rico Rico. Have you seen Sam McEnroe? One by one, the wrestlers shrug or shake their heads as you make your way around the locker room, exchanging handshakes with rookies and veterans both. The lone exception is a beefy Greek wrestler, getting some sort of design tattooed on his face. I think I saw someone with the sound guys. You nod your thanks, then hurry out of the locker room once you've made the rounds. You set the debut tonight as the second match on the card, and you just realize that you don't have any entrance music yet. Damn it. You've just left the locker room when you feel a tap on your shoulder. You turn around to see Larry Lance, your opponent tonight. He's been in the BWF for 3 years, but you've got the feeling he won't be around much longer. You met him earlier in the day when you were going over the match in Vinny's office, and he just seemed disinterested. Listen, says Lance, I know Vinny has you going over tonight, and that's great and all. But I was wondering if we could actually have a match instead of a squash. You're taken aback. Why didn't you say anything earlier? Vinny is down on me lately. Damned if I know why. Lance puts his hands together. Listen, I've got some old high school friends in the audience. I don't want them to see me just roll over. Before you can say anything else, Lance continues. I promise we'll be a minute or two over time, that's all, and if the ref gives the signal to end it, we'll end it. I know how it sounds, and I'll owe you big time. It's just there's this girl that I haven't seen in ages, and you tune him out. You could let Lance get a few moves of his own in, but that may just weaken your debut. It's not like Lance has been booked as a strong opponent. And maybe, more importantly, what'll Vinny think? As the promoter and booker of Borderless Wrestling, he's your boss, your only boss, and he may not take too kindly to improvisation, even if it could result in a more exciting match. On the other hand, wrestlers who show consideration for their peers, who make their opponents look good, are generally more popular in the locker room. Those who focus on turning matches in the highlight reels are deemed to be all about ring flash, and deficit in the awareness that makes a great wrestler. That being said, fans do love to see flashy wrestlers. Alright, Chad. What are we gonna tell Lance here? Sure, it's no problem. Sure, but end up squashing him anyway and basically lie to him. And be the real jerk that our heel persona is in the ring. Or refuse. You don't think I'm falling for that one, do you? Alright, Chad. Look at you. Oh. A little bit of extra fight here. A groundswell of support for option 3. Any of these choices can end up biting us in the ass later. Who knows? Alright. Over 50% now. Option 1 wins. Sure, it's no problem. It's only our first match, guys. We'll see where the road takes us. Lance's face brightens up. You won't regret it. I'll make you look like $1,000,000 when you do win. You'd better, you say. The two of you quickly come up with a new plan for the match, then you excuse yourself to go find Sam. You finally find Sam, surrounded as usual by computers and recording equipment, talking to a pair of technicians about the choreography of the lights for one of the entrances. Sam, my hey, if it isn't the man of the hour. Shouldn't you be in your gear by now? You would be if you hadn't spent the last half hour looking for him. Sam, about my... Oh, have you been checking the BWF forums? He's not even looking at you. Those little vignettes we've been running have drummed up a lot of interest in you, my friend. He turns to you with a smile. People are saying you look strong enough to give Charles Large a run for his money. Sam nods to himself, exuding self-satisfaction. I heard a few guys talking about how they can't wait to see you get your ass pummeled. You grin. Well then, I guess we're going to have a few disappointed customers after tonight's... You break off and shake your head. Wait, that's not even important right now. Alright, chat. This totally feels like a pull option that matters. I need to choose an entrance song. You need to help me pick an entrance song. Will you please listen to me?
Please, listen to me. The Archbishop Lazarus. He led us down there into the...
However the hell that big goes. Alright. Looks like chat is strongly behind the idea of us needing to choose an entrance song. And I can get behind that. Gotta make sure it's an actual song to it instead of like a 30, 45 second riff that just constantly loops. It's a big deal. Damn it. Alright, chat, let's do it. Hey there, Zerfall. Look at my viewer democracy here. Relax, Rico. Sam gives you a thumbs up. I've got you covered. He presses a button, and immediately your senses are assaulted by the unmistakable opening melody of Want, 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 a song by some new tween sensation. You cross your arms. This had better be another joke. Sam laughs. You should see your face. Sam cracks his knuckles, then tabs through a few windows on his nearest computer monitor. Don't worry. I've been thinking about that. I didn't want to make a final decision without consulting you. He opens an audio file. A blistering guitar solo rises to a crescendo in the first 5 seconds and is abruptly cut off, before the song kicks in again with a man singing about how the world is too small for his ambitions. Oh, hold on a moment. I'm gonna scroll down a bit. I'll let you folks read. Hold on. There we go. I'm alright. This one is called Broken Shell by the Witchers, if you want something a bit more classic in nature. Your trumpets and a steady cascading beat without lyrics. It's rough around the edges, but gets across a feeling of triumph. It reminds you of the type of theme music they had during the Adjective Era, the term fans used to refer to the GWA in the 80s when cartoonish characters were the rule. This one is Steel Patriot, done by a student from my alma mater, big wrestling fan. But if you want something contemporary... Sam clicks the third file. Hey, you say. I know this one. Boy Rising, right? Sam grins. I am such a fan of Ecstasy. Yeah, I saw the standee in your room. Have I ever told you that you're kind of creepy? Shut up. The song still gets a lot of airplay. Starts slow, but everyone knows it and has a great rap chorus once you get to the ring. No one else is using it? Sam shrugs. No one in the BWF or the GWA, and that's good enough for me. So which one do you want to go with? What entrance music, what entrance theme does Rico have? The metal song, the instrumental, or the popular rock rap song? Scrolling up to read a little bit. Blistering guitar solo, man singing about how the world is too small for his ambitions. I came to play. Cracking my legs quite a bit. Oh, just stretching out. Sitting at a computer desk. What a time to be alive. So what a time for this tie. May have to throw my own hat in here. That'd be tragic. My dice are on the other side of the room now, so I can't roll. We could have a vote off. Or I could put in my own vote. Ah! Choice one it is. The resolver of democracy. Sam nods and turns back to his computers. You're the boss. Let me just slot that in here and... There you are! You turn to see Vinny Gator stomping towards you, chomping on his trademark unlit cigar. The promoter of the Borderless Wrestling Federation is a small, balding man who positively vibrates with restless energy. Usually it's a positive energy, but the expression on his face tells you that's not the case at the moment. Hey, Vinny, Sam says without turning around. We're going with Broken Shell for Rico's interest. What for clothesline? Do I want to affect like a southern boy accent? No. What for clothesline's sakes are you still doing here? I don't think so. Uh-oh. Vinny only starts using wrestling terms as cut substitutes when something's really gone wrong. You take a step back as Vinny jabs a stogie in your direction. What do you start to ask, but he cuts you off. You're on in 5 minutes! But you look from Vinny to Sam, back to Vinny. This seems like another poll choice that matters. And that is sarcasm. Like how with the entrance theme. It's like no matter what, we're just gonna cruise right along here. So I'm second on the card. Is this another joke? Why didn't anyone tell me that before? Maybe if we hadn't spent a half hour trying to find Sam to have this fucking conversation about an entrance theme. Maybe if we had resolved this somewhere along the way. Whatever, doesn't matter. Not a big deal. Maybe. Probably not. Alright, have a great match with Lance. And, it's gonna make everyone shine. There's a whole girl that he's gonna impress. It's his hometown, and, you know, he's been on the downward spiral for a few years, and gonna shine him up, and he's gonna shine us up, and it's gonna be great. Anyway, narrowly. Why didn't anyone tell me that before? And he glares at you, then spits on the floor. If you've been in the dressing room, where we expected you to be, says Vinny, someone would have told you that Otto is a no-show. By the time I'm through with him, he won't be able to get his name on a library card. Your eyes go wide. But that means Vinny stops his ranting to fix you with a laser-like glare. Why are you still standing around? You jump and sprint back to the locker room, only belatedly realizing you didn't tell Vinny about your conversation with Lance. Well, no time for that now. You get to the locker room and quickly change out of your street clothes and into your wrestling gear. Sorry, can't finish reading this paragraph because seeing Rico in place. So just tell us what color it's gonna be, everyone. We got black and red, blue and white, purple and silver. Rico emblazoned on the back, sure. Our damn singlet. Gonna be great. Purple and silver, baby. Trying to think of what other, like, jerk, arrogant heel characters have had, like, a purple and silver theme. I think Neville, back whenever he was doing a heel thing before, like, his separation from WWE, he became Pac. He had, like, a purple-silver theme to him, right? Jim Sterling. Alright. Alright, purple and silver it is. Way to go, chat. You lace up your boots, then head toward... I don't remember Triple H in purple. I'll take your word for it. You lace up your boots, then head toward the curtained-off exit. Adrenaline's starting to give you that buzz you always get before a fight. You thump your skull twice with lightly balled fists, then twice more on your chest. A little ritual from your college squad, something to settle the nerves. You hear the ring announcer introduce Lance, who is already on his way to the ring. Vinny is standing by the curtain, peeping out at the crowd. He turns back to you, calm and composed now. He grins around a cigar, and you suddenly realize that after all this time, he still gets excited by this job. Hey, the first match not happening means that we got more time for this, right? Yeah. Are you slamming ready, kid? Before you can answer, you hear the screaming guitar riff begin to play, and Vinny is giving you a thumbs up. Alright, chat. How is Rico walking out? There, to the ring. You take a deep breath, give a shout, then smile. That's right.
Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam.
Welcome to the Space Jam. Give a shout. Ah! Almost like an Ultimate Warrior style theme. That's right. Charge! We've tied. Well, that's awkward. Damn it, chat. Alright, I'll vote. Ah! To hell with nerves, to hell with fear. You're where you want to be, and you're going to enjoy yourself. The Arenetta's packed, but it's a small town hall, so that means less than 100 people. Still, the Bowsers make up in enthusiasm anything that they lack in numbers. They are the most boisterous fans of the independent circuit, and they love making themselves heard. When you enter, the boos are immediate. They almost drown out your ring introduction.
And making his debut tonight, from parts unknown, weighing 240 pounds, Rico! You suck, boo! Lance will kill you! Lance will kill you!
Alright, very good. You sniff disdainfully and saunter up to the ring, arms raised as if you're generously allowing them to gaze at your body. This is it, you think to yourself. This is what I want. You slide into the ring. Oh my god. Sorry, I read ahead. You slide into the ring, still in something of a daze, soaking in the crowd noise. You head to one of the ring posts and strike a pose. As you do so, your eyes lock onto a fan in the very first row. It's a very attractive young woman, maybe just a bit older than you, in a tight-fitting tank top that says, "I love men in tights." She gives you a dazzling smile when she catches you, looking at her. Alright, Chad. She's definitely my type. I turn away. I give her a polite smile, I'm into men, not women. Or I give her a wink, I'm into men, but my character doesn't need to be. Could end up being Lance's girl, that's right, crazy. I'm glad this is the very pivotal moment here where we can focus on sexual interest. Baby. I mean, we could end up being a like a Rick Rude style heel. Or, you know, Ric Flair. Oldest ride, longest line. Oldest ride, longest line. Space Mountain, baby. Alright. You sure did. Alright. Narrowly, option 2 wins. Turn away, she's cute. I need to focus on my match. No time for dazzling smiles. No time. The referee calls your attention, and you and your Lance take positions across each other in the center of the ring. Lance looks at you intently, his expression almost desperate. At the moment, you're too awash in your own emotions to give much thought to what he is feeling. You're seconds away from your first official Borderless Wrestling Federation match. All those hours of study under Matt Kirby, all those unpaid gigs in all but empty gymnasiums, all those days of bearing with Big Benji's complaints. All for this moment. You're not sure if you want to savor the anticipation of it. You just want the bell to... The bell rings! The match has begun. Punch each other. You lock up with Lance, then quickly bring him into a side headlock, squeezing his head with your right arm. You shift your body weight and flip him over your hip, your arm still pincering his head. It's a classic takedown, and he grunts as his back hits the mat. Lance wriggles free of the hold and gets back on his feet, and the two of you face off again. Time to kick things up a notch. Alright, this poll absolutely seems necessary. Alright, I wonder what the crowd thinks of the match. I wonder what Lance thinks of the match. I wonder what Vinny thinks of the match. Vinny, your thoughts?
What a slammin' good time, kid.
And back to the ring. I think we're gonna end this one a little bit early. Of course, Lethal. Yes, we shall end this poll early. Option 1. As far as you're concerned, you're performing for them, so it's their opinion that matters the most. Lance attempts a running clothesline, arm outstretched to ram your neck as he passes you, but you duck under his arm and hit the ropes. You repeat the sequence a second time, but this time, instead of just ducking under the blow, you trap his right arm with your left and go for the arm trap neck breaker, twisting Lance's head painfully as you both fall to the mat. The crowd pops modestly as you hit the move. You retreat to your corner and give the audience a thumbs down. The crowd reacts, not just to you, but to the fans that the fact that Lance has gotten to his feet and is ready to charge you as you're looking away. Instead of turning in time to counter Lance's move, as per the original plan, you delay a second. By the time you take your eyes from the crowd, his legs are locked around your head. You flip head over heels and land hard on the mat near the ropes. You try to use the second rope as leverage to get back to your feet, still dazed from the Hurricanrana. Almost as soon as you grab it with both hands, Lance snaps it down with his boot, and the recoil sends you staggering backward, a perfect target. Lance hops onto the bottom rope and uses it as a springboard to land across you, belly first. Springboard splash. As Lance goes for the pin attempt, you hear the crowd shouting raucously. Lance isn't known for his offense. They are seeing a side of him they'd never expected. The referee begins his count. 1. Thanks, you hear Lance whisper. 2. You kick out of the pin with authority. Alright, folks. Is it going to be payback time? Can we not screw up now? Or maybe we wonder what we're having for dinner later, because that's important. Maybe we're gonna have Lance for dinner. A whole gaggle of Lances, a murder of Lances, a tyranny of Lances. Way to go, chat. This is the same authority that that does things like get the Chucklefucks killed. You people. Hey, you know, a Plump gave a reasonable option. I take a deep breath, can't screw up now. You sure did suffer. Yes, it was only because of the viewers. What do you mean, you people? Alright, option 1 wins. It's payback time. Let's see if Lance can hold up his end of the bargain. You and Lance go back and forth, neither one really getting a clear advantage, with the crowd getting more and more into a match they didn't expect to see. Lance reverses a wrist lock, you turn a DDT into a roll-up. Lance dodges a flying elbow, you send him into the ring post as he tries a shoulder tackle. After kicking out of another pin attempt by Lance, you lie on the floor, catching your breath. You hear Lance arguing with the ref, and then he's locking arms with you belly to belly. He's going for a suplex, a move that would see him lift you upside down above him before slamming you to the mat by falling backward. Yes, I needed that explained to me. And the crowd roars louder, thinking they may be witnessing an upset. They can only barely get your feet off the ground. Instead, when your boots hit the mat again, you grab his leg, then roll backwards. So Lance hits the mat back first, once, then twice. A beautiful rolling fisherman suplex you call the Delgado. 1, 2,
3. The winner of the match, by pinfall, Rico!
Lance rolls out of the ring gingerly, and you climb a turnbuckle, give the audience a thumbs down. That's how you know you're a bad person, by giving them a thumbs down. And soak in the booze. Your first professional win. You could get used to this. As your hand is raised in victory. What do? You smile, frown, or keep your face expressionless? As you give the audience a thumbs down, it's going to be like,
I expected better out of you plebs, you Bowsers, as if I could in any way be entertained by you filthy lot.
our face will remain expressionless by the looks of things. Alright. Option 3 it is. Face expressionless. Whatever you're feeling about the match, you're not going to show it until you're out of the public eye. There's a lot of activity backstage as you step through the curtain, but almost everyone stops and gives you a round of applause. A few of the other wrestlers even come up to congratulate you with a handshake or a pat on the back. For the first time in a long time, you feel like you belong. It's a good feeling. Then you see Vinny standing near the door to the locker room talking to one of the women wrestlers. He's holding up a rolled-up magazine, which he uses to point to you when he sees you.
Kid, get over here!
Oh good, he's going to congratulate me. Oh no, I screwed up. Why the hell is he calling me kid? Sorry.
You're fired.
Unless you kiss his ass. He might not be real, that's right, Lethal. Show him your resting bitch face. Very good, Summer. Alright, so far I'm digging this. Party democracy, viewer democracy, chat democracy. It's going well, it's going well. We can do a lot of things with this. There's a no muss, no fuss setup. I'm pleased by how quickly I can issue out polls. Some viewers over the years have asked, you know, whether I could overlay the poll onto the stream. We can do a lot with this. Alright. Option 3 wins. Why the hell is he calling me kid? Vinny's chomping down so hard on the cigar that he's in danger of breaking it in two. You can tell this isn't going to be a pleasant conversation. What the hell was that? You hold out your hands. Listen, Lance and I agreed that if we made some changes... You mean Lance wanted to keep some heat, and he suckered you into agreeing? You shake your head. It's not like that. It just made for a better... The cigar snaps. Vinny spits the remnants onto the floor, and wipes his mouth on his sleeve. You're new, so you get a pass. 1. Pass. Vinny moves in close and glares up at you. But let me explain something to you. You're part of a team now. You don't get to have better matches if that means you eat into the time of the next match. If you force 2 veterans to adjust to your shenanigans. You don't get to have better matches if that means you drain the crowd of the energy they're supposed to expend on the main event. I don't care if you're the second coming of solitary. You have the matches that I say you'll have. Are we clear? You swallow. Hard. Yes, sir. You pause. Am I fired? You said you got 1 pass. Come on, man. Then he blinks, then breaks out laughing. Come off it, kid. You made a mistake, and you ain't gonna do it again. But if you do... It's also possible that the first match was not going to be that long either, and so combined with Lance, we overran things, and also might just be trying to emphasize a point, not to try this crazy improv, you know, that your agents are booking. Is that this week's Masters? He unrolls the magazine with a smile. That it is. Trollnonymous made the MWWR 100 this week. That makes 5 from Borderless Wrestling. Not too shabby for a little independent, eh? Masters of Wrestling is the most influential wrestling publication in the world. While it maintains both an online and offline presence, much of their prestige comes from their weekly magazine. So, earlier when I asked you folks questions about Circuit City and Toys R Us, how many of you have read a hold-in-your-hands, actually printed-out wrestling magazine? Much of their prestige comes from their weekly magazine, which, unfortunately, which features grades for matches, shoot interviews, and the Masters of Wrestling World Rankings, the editor's take on the top wrestlers in the business. It's one of your goals to make it to the MWWR 100 all the way to the top, but right now you're not thinking about that. You're not thinking about anything except the young man featured in an inset on the cover of the magazine. Could I borrow that for a second? Before Vinny can reply, you've taken the magazine, flipping... Oh yeah, I forgot all about this. But, when I saw a friend play this for a stream... Right, yeah, okay. Anyway, that doesn't matter. You taking the magazine, flipping through it to find a specific article, your mind strangely blank. What's the matter? Vinny asks. You look like you've seen a ghost. We've changed tone in a really awkward transition here, kid. So, help us out here. Alright, chat. With limited information, will we tell Vinny that we have? Lie and say it's nothing, or ignore Vinny. This is none of his business. Does it relate to why we nearly crushed Sam McEnroe when he wanted to include footage of our wrestling days? What could it mean? What kind of crazy history do we have that we, the readers, are only just learning of? Will Star discover before she goes on her cruise? Who knows? Alright, we'll end the poll there. Good democracy. Very good. 100%. I have. No sense lying. Not when you can feel the tremor in your fingers, the heat rising to your head. You find the article and stare at it. It's him. No doubt about it. JJ Havoc, the future of the GWA. Oh, him, Vinny says. Came out of nowhere. Wasn't even in their developmental system. Then suddenly his debut match next Wednesday is the leading story on the GWA website. Why? Do you know him? Apparently, you'd missed the news. You'd been too busy preparing for your big debut, or what you'd thought of as your big debut. But he just had to spoil your moment, didn't he? Just like he did 2 years ago. JJ Havoc is his ring name, but you know who he really is. Jasper, Bloody, our finishing move, Fisherman Suplex, Delgado. Dun dun dun. Chapter 2. The barbershop window, parts unknown. 1 year ago. Alright, no reading ahead, chat. I'm gonna go get a drink, come back, and we'll continue. Alright. That's the end of the quick drink break. Let's get on back to Chapter 2. The barbershop window. Parts unknown, 1 year ago. Come on, come on. You watch the poor waiter, sweat dripping down his face, a wild look in his eyes, as he fiddled with the controls of the flat screen. You didn't think his training prepared him for this kind of stress. It was probably quite difficult to fix a television while a table full of increasingly agitated college wrestlers was looking on. You looked back at your teammates. Why don't you guys get some air? I'll call you when we've got a signal. Captain, the others muttered, taking the hint. All except for the 6'3", 240-pound behemoth, who was tapping his Frankfurter-sized fingers impatiently on the table. You too, Gris. He didn't budge. It's gonna start any minute now. Uh-oh. You knew that look. Gris? His fist hit the table with the sound of a semi-truck. We're going to miss it! His voice echoed from end to end of the Boom Boom Grill. And drew a lot of apprehensive glances your way. You could see one of the waitresses whispering urgently to the manager. You gave everyone a strained smile, then walked up to Gris and casually placed an arm around his shoulder. Gris, we've been friends for how long now? 10 years, ever since you... Great. You know you're my guy, right? You can trust me, yeah? Of course, you don't even need to... Great. Now trust me when I say that if we get kicked out of another restaurant, if we miss another GWA pay-per-view, you brought your arm around his neck in a tight grip. 1, I will personally body slam your fat Samoan ass onto an open grill. 2, I'll tell your aunt... Why am I saying aunt now? I guess I've just decided to spice up my lexicon. Instead of aunt. Did you never play as her in Legends of GWA? I'm flushing your solitary action figure down the toilet. No one will survive. Fairly split across the board here, this vote. Oh. Option 2 is driving away with it. On those country roads. I'll tell your aunt that you never play as her in Legends of GWA. It's too late, option 3. It's too late. Gris gave you a look of absolute horror. Aunt Tapora will kill me! Only if you don't listen to me. You watched Gris join the rest of the team outside the restaurant. Gris was a great guy, as gentle at heart as he was intimidating in body, but all of you were on edge, with the NCAA Division I College Wrestling Championships in 3 days, and you were hoping to let off some steam by watching the last one standing on pay-per-view. Most of you in the Brooks College Wrestling team were big Global Wrestling Alliance fans, but Gris took it to another level. That wasn't really much of a surprise, given that he came from the famed Atua wrestling family. I almost said tuna. The famed Tuna wrestling family. You knew that, like you, Gris had his sights set on the GWA, but despite the fact that he certainly had the body for it...
I know what you're trying to do. It won't work.
Everyone knows the cliche of the quiet, gentle types that go berserk when they get into a fight, right? Totally not the case with Gris. If anything, he got more timid. You were wondering if you could find some way to set off Gris's missed pay-per-view rage right before his match in the finals, when you felt a tap on your shoulder, and turned in time to see a fist flying at your face. You barely had time to do more than blink. The fist stopped a hair short of your nose. Too easy, said a familiar voice. Where's your pride as the wrestling team captain? The fist is withdrawn and you find yourself looking at an old friend, your best friend, JJ. Jasper J. Delgado. That's not beef or bloody. What the hell? I was lied to. Was NCAA Division I champion at 197 pounds for 3 years running now. For each of those 3 years, he had been the captain of the Brooks College wrestling team. It'd be a lie to say that he taught you all you know about wrestling, but Jasper was the one who took your game to the next level. With his help, you finally won the 184-pound championship last year, after 2 years of falling short in the finals. JJ was someone you greatly admired, and it gave you a lot of confidence going into your matches, that JJ was in your corner, so to speak. But things were going to be different this year. After an incident at the school involving a gang of known bullies being turned into a gang of whiny hospital patients, Jasper had to move to another college. Because he still wanted to wrestle, he bit the bullet and joined St. Braun's University, Brooks's greatest rival, who succeeded him as team captain, and Jasper became the new star of the Braun Boys. And now he was competing at your weight class. You were the top 2 seeds this year, so chances were that come the finals, you'd be facing your best friend. I never thought that this was how my senior year would go. I never really thought about it until now. I supposed it was inevitable, in a way.
Mr. Anderson. Mr. Delgado.
Bloody Delgado. Right.
Mr. Rico.
Rico. Alright, Chad. Very, very strong showing from you. Very good. Very good. Alright. I supposed it was inevitable, in a way. In a sense, you knew that someday you'd need to test yourself against JJ in something other than a friendly spar. You shake yourself. It was not the time to get lost in your thoughts. It had been almost a year since you last saw JJ, and while you'd kept in touch online, it was great to see him in person. You took his hand in a firm grip. JJ was grinning from ear to ear, and you imagined that you were as well. How'd you know we'd be here? JJ shook his head. Come on, I've only been gone a year. Since you told me about Ringo's closing, I knew that Boom Boom would be the only place near school showing GWA pay-per-views live. You heard a crackle, followed by coughing sounds. You and JJ turned to see the waiter looking in dismay at the smoking flat screen. Or at least, they used to. JJ scratched his head. Why don't we bring the team over to my old place? The tenant just moved out and we can order the pay-per-view there. My treat. Is that a good idea? It'll be just like old times, or you don't really care where you watch the show, so long as you get to watch the damn show. This pay-per-view that we really want to see. Our best friend striding into our lives, spoken occasionally online, but the first time we've seen him, a year. More split than the solid unanimous 100% from last vote. But solidly behind option 2. Something I would like about this overlay is if it kept more specific track of the timer. Like, after, 45 seconds, it transitions into rounding and up into a minute. It's tragic. How I feel about that. Tragic. Anyway, option 2 wins. It'll be just like old times. JJ slapped you on the back. That's my boy. You wave the others over to tell them the good news. JJ's house was furnished differently. The last tenant must have had a thing for gray wood. Not mahogany. The one thing that remained the same was the enormous television set in the living room. The place brought back fond memories, playing games, watching movies, mostly wrestling, whether it be GWA shows or recordings of your opponents. It's unfortunate that, our friendship basically ended whenever our, JJ stopped going to the same school. By the time you got last one standing, or rather, same college, still a school, place of higher learning. Higher, wink wink, yes. By the time you got last one standing on the screen, Gris was beside himself with excitement. You'd missed half the first match, but Gris's complaints soon died down as he watched the battle for the GWA Tag Team Championship unfold.
What are you doing, El Allah?
Gris was gnashing his teeth. You lose here and I'm never watching DWA again! Whatever, Gris, you and JJ said in unison. The two of you shared a smile. Does he still threaten to quit pro wrestling 4 times a show? Asked JJ. How do you feel about this, chat? This seems important. Your opinion matters. Oh yes? Only if the tunas aren't on? And I stopped counting. Good times. Alright. A narrow vote here. So narrow. It's even. Oh! Option 3! Squeaked ahead! There at the last moment. Incredible. Option 3 it is. I stopped counting. Chris's love-hate relationship with pro wrestling had grown from endearing to exasperating very quickly. Chris was the one who introduced you and JJ to the GWA. Maybe it'd be more accurate to say reintroduced in your case. The Global Wrestling Alliance is the most prestigious and lucrative wrestling federation in the world, one of the splinter groups that formed after the collapse of Haskell Muchnick's Championship Wrestling universe in the late 80s. It survived competition with the likes of the League of Heavyweights, and a brutal corporate civil war to become the uncontested leader in the field of professional wrestling. You've been an avid fan in your youth, back in what was referred to as the Adjective Era, with stars such as Flash and Frank Garfield, Sweet Taffy Torres, and Brutal Bukowski. Your interest waned when you entered high school when Gris forced you to watch an episode of Wednesday Night Wrestling, the GWA's flagship show. You were shocked by how radically different the product was. All of it embodied by one man. And now, rumbled the bass voice of Nick Varnish, the great narrator of the GWA, it's time for tonight's main event. Even just watching on television, you and your friends could feel the electricity in the air. Entering the ring first, from New York City. You all leaned in closer to the screen as the crowd roared, equally divided between adulation and derision. Drop the champ! Drop the champ! Each shout like a drum beat. Champ forever! Champ forever! Each sing-song chant like a pulse racing.
Your undisputed global wrestling champion, Solitary!
Stand up and cheer, boo loudly, watch silently. How does Rico react to Solitary? He's like, I hate that game. It's always installed on my computer. It's Solitaire, Rico. Not Solitary. Ah! Alright. Mostly gonna be watched silently. That's fine. No escape. We'll end the poll there. Solitary, the eternal champion. The year after Solitary joined the GWA was the year of the most radical shift in the history of the Alliance. To rekindle dwindling interest in professional wrestling, Cameron Dobbs, GWA CEO, announced that they would start incorporating shoot fights, unscripted matches in their cards. Which matches were worked, scripted, and which were actual fights became the most closely guarded secret in the industry. But while the initial announcement was met with a great deal of skepticism, it soon became apparent even to casual viewers that some of the matches being shown on live television were not being choreographed beforehand. While the GWA brass fought off legal and moral challenges, audience interest soon spiked and Wednesday Night Wrestling reached new ratings heights. Then Dobbs took it a step further and announced that from Ring of Valhalla X onwards, or Ring of Valhalla 10 onwards, the GWA World Championship would only change hands in a fight. At ROVX, GWA reigning champion Paul Prototype was paired with an unheralded cruiserweight called Hodge Stevens, ring name Solitary. The move was met with much criticism. What did it matter if a fight is unscripted if it's so clearly a mismatch? And then Solitary won. Solitary, solitary. Fight after fight, year after year, Solitary kept winning. And he didn't stop bucking expectations inside the ring. He came out as gay, lambasted the Dobbs family, agitated for the unionization of wrestlers. Solitary, solitary. Dobbs couldn't fire him, not without tanking ratings and tarnishing their entire shoot hybrid experiment. So instead, the GWA brass tried to stack the deck against him at every title defense. Solitary agreed to every proposed handicap in exchange for changes to his contract whenever he won. And since he would not lose, he soon had more control over his matches, appearances, and merchandise than any professional wrestler had ever had. This pay-per-view, Solitary was facing a three-man gauntlet, his most daunting challenge yet. But if he won, from then on, he would only have to defend his title once a year at Ring of Valhalla. Solitary, solitary. JJ turned to you. Champ is going down this time, don't you think? No way, they call him the Eternal Champion for a reason? Sure, it's obviously still rigged? Yes, no way he can beat 3 men in a row. This would have to be some kind of lewd pay-per-view for him to be able to beat off 3 men in a row. That's not what I said, Rico. Right. Right.
The Eternal Champion. Behold.
Certainly is an imposing nickname. You know, the artist, the Empress of Tomorrow,
The Eternal Champion.
the Rainmaker. Way to go, Summer. You keep grinding that axe. Option 1 wins. They call him the Eternal Champion for a reason. You've got quite a high opinion of the man, said JJ. Remember last year when he beat Cruiser and Destroyer in the 2-on-1 handicap match? I shrugged. Where's my report option? Anyway. Sure, Solitary's an inspiration to me. That's just the way it is. If he wins, he deserves to be champion. Nope, he's obnoxious as hell. No, it's starting to get boring. I know, right? No different than Tugboat and Earthquake, right? Is that his name? Tugboat? Alright, good. That time my bone popping didn't cue up the microphone. Hooray. Looks like Chad just feels that's the way it is. These are actually fights. Instead of, you know, being scripted. By all means, he deserves to be champion. JJ nodded. I can get behind that. If only you could say that for all the titles. You turned to JJ. Oh, come on, I know you prefer MMA, but don't try to impose the... You broke off as you saw his grin. You're such an easy, JJ began, but was interrupted then by a roar from the crowd. You and your friends watched stunned as Solitary's first opponent tapped out, caught in Solitary's 3 of clubs submission. The bell rang. Barely 2 minutes have gone by in the match. The whole chant for Solitary. The second man wasted no time getting to the ring. In hindsight, maybe he should have. He slid beneath the bottom rope, got up to one knee, and was promptly caught by a kick to the back of the skull. Champ went for the pin. 1, 2. No way. 3. The bell rang. Crowd erupted. Shenanigans. Tomfoolery. Pedology. Hijinks. Strange things are afoot here at the Circle K. Like a phone booth comes out. Rufus! That's right. Bamboozling us. Running us amok. Looks like option 2's narrowly squeaking this one out. We're gonna lose our stoicism here. It is shaken ever so slightly. There's no way that someone could be that good. Right? The final man strode purposefully to the ring, his face purple with rage. Paul Prototype had started out in the GWA as the ultimate good guy. While that was still the facade he presented to the public, it was clear that he was obsessed with avenging his numerous losses to Solitary. Unlike the other two opponents, Prototype put up a hell of a fight. In the end, however, after a grueling 20 minutes, Solitary hit Prototype with the ace of spades. That was that.
Your winner, and still your undisputed global wrestling champion, Solitary!
The crowd went wild. You stared at the triumphant figure of Solitary alone at the top once more, brandishing the gold and grain of the GWA Championship. You promised. Then and there, what was the vow we made in that moment, here in this flashback? A story within a story. Someday we'll compete. We'll lose at Ring of Valhalla. Perhaps someday that's gonna be us. Someday I'll have my Valhalla victory.
Someday. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. Some moment in my life, I will have my victory in Valhalla.
Not some.
Sunday, Gravedigger strikes. See the famous monster trucks ride roughshod over everything in their path.
Option 3 wins. The team hung out in JJ's house until well past midnight. But by 2 in the morning, only you and Gris remained. You were about to say goodbye as well. You and Gris had agreed to go on a morning radio show to promote the Division 1 finals. And you didn't want Gris snoring into a live mic again. Oh, yeah. A morning radio show, promote the finals, yeah. Then JJ stood up. JJ grinned. Now that the babies are gone, he left the room for a moment and returned shortly with a case of beer. Gris whooped and fell upon the beers like a shark diving through chum. You two should stay the night, said JJ. He opened 2 cans and offered one to you. We've still got a lot of catching up to do. You looked at the beer, then at Gris. You were hitching a ride home with him, and while he'd driven the car to JJ's house, insert burp here, it was obvious that he wouldn't be in any condition to drive home. Like a radio obligation that's gonna happen, like the next day. Whole Division 1 finals thing, it's time to like hang out and visit with each other. Never turned down a drink before, why start now? Why not? I can hold my liquor unlike Gris. Refuse, better safe than sorry. Besides, I don't need to be drunk to hang out. Only one voter wanted to paint Rico as an alcoholic. Right. Rico responsible Rico. Father Rico. XSI answering that solitary vote. Solitary for option 2. Anyway. Maybe we can walk. JJ smirked. Well, aren't you the responsible one? He shrugged. The captain has to watch out for his players. You both looked at Gris, who was happily guzzling down his third can, and sighed. JJ picked up one of Gris's empty cans and handed it to you. What's this for? Can't have a toast if you're not at least pretending to hold a drink. Toast! Gris shouted, then promptly fell over. You and JJ shook your heads, then raised your respective beer cans, his full, yours empty. To old friends, you said. To new rivals, answered JJ, grinning. Blink. The hours flew by as the three of you talked. JJ talked about what it was really like working under the Beast. The legendary wrestling coach of St. Bronze. You gave him an update on the latest, not quite on point motivational posters that Coach posted in your lockers. Yours are the saying, "The happiest life is to be without thought," by noted Greek athlete Sophocles. All we are is dust in the wind, dude. JJ voiced admiration for a freshman prospect you had for next year. You fended off JJ and Gris's innuendos about the sophomore who confessed her love to you last month. Swapping stories seemed to close the distance between you, and before long, it felt as if JJ had never transferred out. You finally left his house at almost 5 in the morning. You were cutting things a bit close for your radio interview, but it had been so long since you, JJ, and Gris had been together that you lost track of time. Gris was laid out in the back seat, staring up a stone. Gris? Keep going, Gris. JJ rode shotgun. You're gonna need help getting Gris into the station if he's still out for the count, JJ had said. You drove down the city's main roads, keeping just a hair under the speed limit. The drizzle that had begun to fall when you left JJ's house had turned into a genuine downpour, and you peered anxiously out of the pools of light that your headlights scented the pre-dawn gloom. Relax, said JJ, leaning back into his seat, looking pleasantly buzzed. You worry too much. That's always been your problem. Star's eyes are widening incrementally. She sees where this is going. Can't help it, I hate being late. Mere mortals like me tend to dread failure. Maybe, I'll try. Is Rico a stickler for punctuality? Or maybe he was. Is no longer. Had like a bit of sarcasm there. Or just, he'll do what he can. Always taking JJ's advice. No matter what time it is. Years apart.
And we have a tie.
Alright. A little bit too slow there, XSI. That would have been the tiebreaker, though, or if it had caught your input, it would have recreated the tie. And then we still would have gone with my option. Mere mortals like me tend to dread failure, JJ. Hey, maybe they'll let us cut promos on each other, JJ grinned, wagging a finger at an imaginary audience as he spoke in a deep voice.
Let me tell you something, neighbor. Rico here may think he's all that, but I taught him everything he knows. And let me tell you, neighbor, he wasn't no quick study.
In spite of yourself, you laughed. For a non-GWA fan, JJ sure did a good impression of Herculean Harvey Harrison. Opposed to Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Neighbor, when Rico here came to my dojo, he thought a near fall was when you almost tripped, but didn't.
Dojo? What the heck? Maybe it was just a sleepless night. You found the routine even more hilarious than usual.
So if Rico makes it to the finals against me on Saturday, let me tell you, neighbor,
he's going to whoop your sorry MMA ass, you said. Just as something darted across the highway, right into the path of your car. You cursed and swore violently to the right. Okay, so let's have it as... This is a teaching moment. When I had driver's ed, this was a few years ago. When I had driver's ed, my driver's ed instructor was pretty blatant, and much to the dismay of the partner I had, because we had like duos in our driver's ed course. She was not a fan of this at all, but he was a big stickler of, if anything comes on you at you in front of the road, and it is not a person, and it's not like a vehicle, you don't swerve that vehicle. You go right through it. Squirrel, cat, dog, raccoon, maybe not a moose. Maybe not a deer. But small animal, you plow right through that. Not worth veering the vehicle. You go straight over. Deeply upset, the partner I had. My mom was not a big fan of that story either. Yes, the great difference between squishables and non-squishables. Don't try the moose though. Moose absolutely does win. Don't have to worry about moose around here though. I added that moose part to the story. Hell, I added a lot of pizzazz to that story. But he was a stickler on emphasizing the whole, small animal comes on the road, you do not swerve for small animal. Especially if you have other people in the vehicle, because endangering, like, the vehicle and perhaps even the entire road of folks behind you, or something like that. Now, of course, there's no controlling if, well, people react and panic in different ways, right? And while you can try and reinforce, like, how you will react in a situation, if a blur of vision has you go, "Wah!" just veer the vehicle super hard. You jerked the wheel, but by then it was too late. The car careened into a tree with a juddering slam, and your seatbelt bit hard into your chest as a spray of splinters danced in the air to the sounds of crunching metal and shattering glass. A good thing we hadn't drank, by the way. Dazed, you were only semi-conscious of your surroundings until Gris helped you out of the car. With his help, you lay down in the grass. Just behind Gris, you could see the car lodge against a tree. Gris leaned over you, concerned in his face. "Are you okay?" You gave yourself a once-over. But aside from a few aches and bumps, nothing seemed to be bleeding or broken. "I'm okay." Your voice was tremulous like you couldn't believe it yourself. "I'm okay." "Shh, Kiras." You stopped. "What about..." You heard a groan from beside you. That was the first time you realized that JJ was lying not 3 feet away, clutching his right leg. "JJ!" You crawled to his side, then got up to one knee. Oh no. Do we ask him a stupid question? Do we immediately exclaim that something wasn't our fault? Do we offer the apology that, you know, the expression of sorrow and remorse that you give to someone, even if you're not taking blame? Or perhaps you're too panicked to speak on this one? Bless his heart. Lethal, we're in the middle of a flashback still, in parts unknown. We were driving to a radio interview that we were going to give with Gris about the NCAA Division I Finals, and JJ was with us. We're driving Gris's vehicle. Perhaps his aunt's vehicle, who knows. Gris is fucking hammered. JJ's had a few drinks. Something popped up on the road. We swerved. We hadn't drank any alcohol, though. Battler man, you deserve to have no love or sympathy at any moment in your life. Grimith, not Grimith R. You can't even use the excuse of that being my YouTube name. We're on Twitch. Not only that, but the channel isn't named that. Wink. Anyway, 50% say option 3. So that's what we're going with. I've had this moment before. This is another teaching moment. This would be if we all watched Lethal and we called him the Death Cat. Right, Lethal? Wink. Tap your nose. Oh god, I'm so sorry. Or if we called SKS IOAZ81. Your best friend grimaced in pain, screaming through clenched teeth, and his eyes focused on you, and his expression shifted to one of rage. What the hell? What the hell? There was, you said. It must have been a dog or something. Then you should have run it over. There's no, you're right, I should have run it over option. Yeah, Wembley. I mean, he's rebranded it to SKS's Plays Gamer Nation. Welcome back, gamers. But, absolutely. IOAZ81. There we go, Exercise. Not my problem. I like it. This sounds like a you problem. It seems like I can still wrestle, JJ, but, I mean, it just happened so suddenly. So long, and take care. Maybe you've had time to think you would have, but there had been no time and no way you could have known things would end up this way. JJ hissed, then shook his head violently. He was beginning to hyperventilate. We've got to call an ambulance, Chris whispered. No, no way, JJ pushed himself with his elbows. Do you know how hard I had to work to get on the same bronze team? This is the excuse they need to bench me. JJ sat up, then tried to get his legs under him. I can still compete. So what would you suggest we do then? With Griss's help, JJ managed to stand on one leg. Let me clean up and hail me a cab before you call in the accident. I'll head home, heal up in time for the tournament. I was never here. You looked at JJ's leg dubiously. You owe me this, JJ said. Yeah. I mean, personally, I'd go with JJ's plan. Like, we didn't actually hit anyone or anything. Our vehicle swerved off the road. We can hand wave this. I'm a medic. Fuck your feelings. There you go, MSH. I like it. Good thing we hadn't boozed it up, right, folks? We still would have gotten into this situation anyway, I'm sure of it. That's right, we can exploit a weakness. That's how we'll win the finals. Or maybe he doesn't even make it to the finals, right? The mysterious JJ. Okay. Option 2 wins. Narrowly. Going with JJ's plan. There's no way you're going to be 100% in 3 days, you said. Heck, 70% would be a stretch. Maybe, said JJ. But that should be my choice, not yours. You threw up your hands. Have it your way, then. Thank you, Rico. JJ flashed you a fierce grin. See you in the finals. The NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships. The next few days went by in a haze. You hadn't been drinking, so the reactions of friends and family were more sympathetic than accusatory. That's the key there. And besides, in this flashback, that scene had to happen anyway. Glad we acknowledged that. But that didn't erase the image of JJ lying on the grass, clutching his bleeding leg. However, while you were preoccupied off the mat, your focus returned during your matches. In fact, you'd never been so driven, so composed. You executed every move, every tactic, with brutal efficiency. And you weren't the only one on a roll. If you hadn't known better, you wouldn't have thought that JJ was injured. But you did know better. And as you watched him eke out victories over inferior opponents, you felt... Well, how did you feel? Guilty, worried about him, angry, or proud of him? How do we feel about our... still maybe best friend? Even though we hadn't, like, seriously interacted with him in, like, a year. A bit gassy. Exercise choosing to feel guilty. It happens. People go to different colleges, there's some distance. Can be quite a bit of distance. Just different lives. And interacting online, just don't have time to get together and interact with one another. Okay. Option 2, narrow victory. Close poll. Close poll. We're worried about him. Winning was important, but not at the cost of JJ's long-term health. He shouldn't be pushing himself, not this hard, not this soon. On the third day of the tournament, no one was surprised that you and JJ were competing in the finals at 184 pounds. This was the showdown everyone had been anticipating. But it was not the one that you'd envisioned. As you squared off against JJ at the center of the mat, waiting for the official to signal the beginning of the match, you searched your best friend's face for any sign of what he was feeling. No luck. He had his game face on. Gotta activate your game breaker. You'd have had better luck reading a mannequin. You reminded yourself that this was what he wanted. JJ had always been a fierce competitor. Conflict and competition, the only idols he worshipped. During one of the few times that he'd spoken of romance, JJ said that his ideal partner, romance option along with solitary and other folks, I'm sure, wink wink, his ideal partner would be one that could go toe-to-toe with him. No question about it, JJ would come out swinging. The question was, would you? Could you? The official's whistle signaled the beginning of the match, and that was when you'd made your decision. Chad, in this flashback, are we throwing this fucking match and pissing him off? Or are we going all out to win? And also probably pissing him off because we cheated him by breaking his fucking leg. So that when we actually come back to the present time, we could... Who knows? Unstoppable. Would you with a fish? I would not, could not on a boat. I would not eat it with a goat. I do not like green eggs and ham. Alright. We're giving him the goods. Rilder, the only one. That's right. We organized this. Everything is just as planned. Just as planned. Go all out to win. Achievement, no holds barred. Win an amateur match by exploiting an injury. Nice. Injury or not, you'd fight to win. JJ was the one who decided to compete hurt. You'd cut him no slack. That was how he'd want it anyway. First few minutes of the match were inconclusive, hesitant. You and JJ both knew each other too well for any of the usual tactics or tricks to work. It was move, reversal, escape, move, over and over, while waiting for one of you to make a... And there it was. JJ gave up his leg, letting it stay down a second too long. You dived for it, hooked it, lifted him high, not even thinking about the injury, not even thinking about anything but winning, then slammed his shoulders first into the mat with all your strength. Looking back, you're still not certain that you heard the crack of bone breaking. You do remember the sticky feeling, and looking down to see JJ's blood on your hands and on the mat. JJ was screaming in pain, and all you could do was step back as the medical staff rushed him to a waiting ambulance. You didn't even realize that you were being proclaimed champion until you heard the audience. The fucking audience is applauding.
Yeah! You fucked him up! You broke it down! Get fucked, nerd! Suck it down, kid! Rico! Fuck you!
I know, right? Jesus, audience. You're worse than Chad. Beautiful. Well, how do we feel about that, chat? Now I knew who the better man was. That wasn't how I'd wanted to win. Felt terrible. I should have thrown the match after all. Thank God number 3 is the worst way out. Can't be regretting that.
It's not how you wanted to win, but it's how you won. And it's how he would have wanted it. Well, probably wouldn't have wanted his leg broken, but you know. We didn't call an ambulance on him. Nicely done, Lethal. Alright. Man, it's amazing how quickly I blew through my drinks. Doing this whole reading time. Alright. Choice 2 it is. That wasn't how I'd wanted to win. I was actually having some sweet tea here, Kiros. It's been a while since I had some sweet tea. Or as it's referred to down here in the South, tea. You'd wanted to win, of course, and you knew that being so aggressive could hurt JJ. But not like this. Not this badly. Not like this. You never heard from JJ again after all was said and done. It wasn't just that you didn't communicate. He just seemed to drop off the map. He closed his social network accounts, withdrew from his other friends and family. No one had seen hide nor hair of Jasper Bloody Delgado for 2 years. Until he landed on the cover of Masters of Wrestling. I'm sure folks saw him before Masters. Like, they would have needed to see him in order to put him on the fucking cover, right? Boo Bear, you shut up. Don't you bring that slanderous talk in here. That's fucking heresy. I will defenestrate you. I will serve you pulled pork and it will not be with mayonnaise. Anyway, back to the present day. Chapter 3, The Road Warrior. What's our stats look like? We got some energy, some strength, pro mobility, kayfabe reality, favor heat, ring awareness, ring flash. Well, it's the antithesis of reality. I mean, you just read context clues. Rico from Parts Unknown. Rank 240. I think that's how much our character weighs. Neat. We have our single achievement we've gotten thus far. Anyway. Chapter 3. The Road Warrior. We're still not in Parts Unknown. We're from there, damn it. Sagramore versus Rico. 11-16 into the match. There is a sound that the perfect dropkick makes. A certain meaty slap when boots hit a forearm or a chest. Yeah, it's a South Carolinian thing. I don't much care for pulled pork and mayonnaise together, but it's something that's a steak. When boots hit a forearm or a chest or a jaw, a sound that makes people take notice. It's one of those basic moves that looks just difficult enough that the crowd never takes it for granted, if it's done right. Very good. It was like a clap, because it was. Perfect. You spring up quickly from the mat, resisting the urge to let out a whoop from the exhilaration that comes from landing a good move. Even after almost 2 years in the BWF, there's still no rush like it. Of course, as with most everything in professional wrestling, it takes 2 great wrestlers to pull off one good move, and today you have the privilege of being in the ring with one of the best. Sagramore! Sagramore gets up slowly, shaking his masked head to and fro, using the middle rope for leverage as he tries to stand, selling your dropkick like the seasoned pro he is. Actually, seasoned pro is an understatement. Sagramore II, to be precise, is a legend amongst wrestlers, although criminally unknown to mainstream fans. An institution in British wrestling for over 2 decades, Sagramore was recruited by the GWA 10 years ago but was a victim of horrible booking. He was reduced to a comedy act before calling it quits. Their loss. BWS game. Let's go, Sagramore! Let's go, Sagramore! Finally back on his feet, Sagramore rushes toward you with a speed that belies his age. Alright, Chad. How did we book this match? Or was it booked for us? How are we improving here? What are we gonna do?
Gonna try and catch him in a hole, use our power moves, slow down the match. Power move clothesline, whatcha? Or, a very nimble dropkick. It worked once, why not again? What did the road agent say? Fuck! Things have often worked twice in wrestling. Folks go for it third time. Drapu Kiko. Okay. Strong voting for number 2. That's good, Summer. Yes, we totally did. Try to catch him with a clothesline. As planned, Sagramore evades you. Son of a bitch, the choice didn't matter. Then takes you down with a hip toss. Before you can get up, the old Brit pushes you down to the mat, applying pressure to your back with his shoulder as he wrenches your arm out and behind you. You grit your teeth as Sagramore pushes your shoulder toward your ear. Sagramore wrestles stiff, which in the language of the business means that when Sagramore hits his opponent, he doesn't hold back. Escape, he murmurs. Shot, miss. Hit me. You grunt as you get one of your knees beneath his body, giving you a base from which to push up and against the hold, allowing you to throw him off your arm in believable fashion. The two of you find your footing almost simultaneously, but Sagramore attacks first with a high chop. Forewarned, you dodge low, and decide to hit him with, how the fuck are we gonna hit him? Well, we're gonna bring down on a series of chops, followed by a kick to the head, a drop kick, fucking again with these drop kicks, super kick party, or a power bomb. A jackknife, take him for the last ride. Maybe mix it up, get like a muscle buster on him. Go outside of the ring, hit him with an apron power bomb. Yeah, it must be great. You got power in the name. Flawless logic. We'll end this poll early. 41 seconds is good. Powerbomb it is. You kick Sagamore in the gut to get him to double over, then lock your hands around his waist. PB, you whisper. And a second later, you've lifted him up with ease so that his legs are atop your shoulders. You let him fall back first on the mat. The legend is on the ropes, and the crowd boos wildly. You feel like shouting a little yourself. Even after 28 matches with each other over the past 4 months, you still can't believe you're in the ring with the legend. He's been wrestling for the independents since finally quitting the GWA or being fired, depending on whose story you believe in. For the past 3 years, has been the star attraction of the BWF and is its current and reigning champion. Despite his advanced age, he's still one of the best workers in the business and one of the biggest draws outside of the major federations. But after 3 decades of bouncing around, as he calls it, he's finally retiring. This is his final tour. He's chosen you to be his final opponent, and the one he ultimately loses the title to in his last match. When he and Vinny told you about it, how did you feel? Ecstatic? Been a huge fan of his? Always go out on your back? Happy? Can't wait to be champion? Or, nah, I'm still a long way from where JJ is. Now, of course, we had that entire flashback chapter where we learned about who JJ is. That's right, Vinny's trusting us enough to where we get the strap. Boys, the legend wants to lose to us, give us the rub. Rub-a-dub-dub. But no, Metal Slime Hunt. JJ was the premier, feature wrestler on the Masters of Wrestling magazine. I said wrestling, because of course I did. Wrestling. As my father called it. It's over. Option 1. Ecstatic. Of course. A series of matches with the legend, you are salivating at the thought of how much you could learn. You've had a lot of matches with him. Of course, no one ever said that learning was going to be easy. You miss an elbow drop. As he rolls out of harm's way, the old Brit catches you with a few quick kicks to the thigh, then whips you against the ropes. You hook your arms around the top rope to keep yourself from bouncing back into Sagramore's waiting attack. You smirk at him to slip under the bottom rope and out of the ring, brushing your hand to the old Brit, then turning to argue with a fan who is right behind that railing that keeps the crowd at bay. As you get in the fan's face, actually a wrestling student from a nearby school, you begin a silent count. 1, 2, 3. You turn just in time to catch Sagramore as he dives through the ropes and hits you with open palms, sending you right into the railing. You still got it. The crowd chants their hero, who gets up quickly so he can raise his hand high while he stands over your prone body. You still got it. Like that was ever in doubt. You'll be feeling this bump all the way to the hotel watering hole. Later, the Shockin' Master Grill. Oh, good old Shockmaster. Does sound like a liberal crime squad hideout. The traditional postcard gathering is in full swing by the time you arrive. Do any of you choose to write postcard with a hyphen in it? At the Shockin' Master, one of the few downsides to being in the main event, you share greetings and jibes with the rest of the roster, both the men and women wrestlers, many of whom have become almost like family after nearly 2 years together on the road. Sit your ass down, clown, says Twister as he motions to one of 2 empty chairs at the table he is sharing with a few of the other wrestlers. Good match! Twister, an African-American submissions expert, is one of your best friends on the roster. One of your first feuds was with him. You've been very kind to a sometimes too enthusiastic... Got a lot of damn hyphens on this page. Sometimes too enthusiastic rookie such as yourself. You mime getting something to drink and make your way to the bar. Almost as soon as you're seated, a middle-aged woman taps you on the shoulder. You raise your eyebrows. She's clearly uncomfortable in the hotel bar, and you can't think of a reason for her to come up to you unless... And then you see the little face peeking out from behind the woman, and everything makes sense. Excuse me, Mr. Rico, was it? I'm terribly sorry to be a bother, but my son and I are staying in the hotel tonight, and we're just checking in when we saw you walking into the bar. He just would not give me a moment's peace unless I brought him in here to ask you for your autograph. Oh, brother, this is why it's hard to be a heel sometimes. On the one hand, there are benefits to staying in character, keeping kayfabe, as they say in the business, even now, when most everyone knows that wrestling is a show. It just makes the remaining bits of illusion that you can cling on to that much more precious. On the other hand, you look at the kid's eyes. He looks like he wants to memorize every line on your face. He takes a hesitant step forward and raises a pen and paper up to you like they're the keys of the city. Chat, how do we feel about keeping kayfabe right now? It still registered your vote, Summer. Yeah, I saw it, I saw it having, listed the fact that one vote occurred in my poll option bar, when you were the only person who had put in a number. What would The Undertaker do in this situation? Single tear rolls down. Anyway. Option 2 it is. By crushing the power button. Just gives the kid snake eyes. Does the leg drop? Mark Calloway, who, is the Undertaker. He's actually doing appearances now. He's got a social media account. He's talking more and more about wrestling business. He's someone who took the whole mystique of the character very seriously. Actually talking more now. Anyway, not gonna disappoint a little boy. Sure, but only if you tell people I was horrible to you. You wink at the boy. The grin that explodes on his face as you hand the autograph to him is as bright as a title belt. Thank you, says the woman, and her own smile takes a decade from her, at least. She leads her son back out the door, the little boy practically skipping the whole while. You sure know how to grab heat, Rico, says Twister as you sit down at the table. I know. Next time I'll hit the kid with a chair. Wise ass, Twister says as he hands you a beer. You take the beer and tip an imaginary hat towards Twister in gratitude. Gracias, amigo. Twister says de nada, and we immediately like that whole like the Hunt for Red October. Just switch into Spanish. You hear a commotion toward the entrance of the bar and look up in time to see Sagramore make his appearance. Even without his trademark mask, he goes out in public without the mask. Emblazoned with the 3-star coat of arms that belonged to the legendary Knight of the Round Table from whom he took his name, there is something regal about the way Edward Maven Brooks carries himself, something that draws the eye. He's not so much muscular as he is solid, a chunk of tight fat and untoned muscle so dense that you could almost feel... What the fuck? I feel like I'm playing Planet Stronghold. Anyway, that you could almost feel a gravitational pull. Yet he moves with the certainty of a man who is exactly the weight he wants to be, one whose body no longer has any surprises for him. The thing... Come on. Uptime? You're thinking that you're watching somebody else. The old Brit trades handshakes and pleasantries with the other members of the roster and crew of BWF. For many of them, tonight is the last night they will ever share a card with Sagramore. Only a few wrestlers will be involved in the joint show that will serve as his final match. You and the others rise to your feet respectively. Respectfully, when he arrives at your table, Brooks trades barbs and shakes hands with everyone until finally he gets to you. You stretch out your hand to him. And how do we react in this moment? We be stoic, as we often have been. Good match. Not bad for an old man. Say nothing. I know that old wrestlers prefer to do all the talking. Not bad for an old man. Wait. Time for you to go out. The pasture. Taking you to the glue factory. Oh, it's like Animal Farm, where that dumb horse boxer thinks he's going to a great retirement, is actually being taken away to the glue factory to serve the greed of the pigs. Good times. Thanks, Orwell. I think Boxer was the horse's name. It's a fair reaction, Battler, man. It's a fair reaction. Alright. Choice 1 it is. Good match. The old Brit winces. Listen, I understand you're a vigorous young lad, but you've also got to take your opponent's condition into account. He rubs his back with the knuckles of his left hand. I can still take my bumps and bounces, but try a powerbomb on someone else my age, and you risk doing real harm. Sagramore takes your hand and gives it a firm shake. I would say it was a good match, but you're getting there, young lad. Now, all you need to do is... Here we go, his traditional post-match breakdown. The old Brit was always polite, but always opinionated, and legend has it that Sagramore doesn't believe he's had a good match in 2 decades. Glad you decided to tell us that now, Story. Instead of, before we had the option to pick about a good match. Way to go. Party Commissar, I haven't... The voting, yes, way quick. Legend has it that Sagramore doesn't believe that he's had a good match in 2 decades. Some of the younger wrestlers, and considering Sagramore's age, that includes everyone who's ever been on the BWF roster, find these critiques to be wonderful opportunities to learn at the feet of one of the greats. For others, Sagramore's assessments have the same effect on their self-esteem that a depth charge has on a submarine. As for you, we've really treated him respectfully thus far, I reckon, and we're a nice guy, the chap. So, yeah. So, It's like either going to be option 1 or option 3, so 2 is 3. Welcome to feedback, or don't really listen to what he has to say, because we've listened a lot to it. Asshole telling me that's not a fucking good match. I mean, he's like, I can't powerbomb someone his age. Why the fuck's he still in the game then if I can't powerbomb? Seems like Chad welcomes the feedback. Powerbomb! Very good. We'll end the poll there. That's right. You gotta respect Rico, the man in the purple and silver. We might still be wearing the same getup after 2 years. Spawned by powerbombing again. The way you see it, every tip you get from the world-traveling, well-respected, classically trained Sagramore gets you that much closer to the wrestler that you've always wanted to be. You could squeeze the wrestling knowledge out of his brain with your bare hands and suck on that sweet, sweet... What the fuck? Why you gotta make this weird? You've ever told him that in precisely those terms. That'd be weird. But accurate. Eventually, Sagramore finishes his critique of your match. You and the legend have one more battle in the pipeline, his big farewell at the Mueller-Albert Ballroom, and you're going to make it a personal mission to learn all that you can from the old Brit as you have from all the matches you've had thus far. As the night rolls on and the empty bottles pile up, the talk at the table turns to lighter things, story of the road, and the oddities and craziness that come from life as a professional wrestler. You remember when you were first starting out? All you could do was listen with a mixture of admiration and skepticism as the veterans wove what seemed to be one tall story after another, each one an attempt to outdo the last. Now, after almost 2 years on the road, you've realized that most of those stories were probably true. Now you've got some of your own to tell. Worst venue? Twister shakes his head. You guys remember the Bowlatorium? No, I'm not sure. There's a collective groan from the table. Isn't that the one that had those giant bowling pins as support pillars? Oh man, says Trollnonymous. He doesn't have his troll face mask on, but his slanted grin is enough of a tell that you know the young Native American has got mischief on his mind. Hey Charles, that's the one you wrecked with your fat ass, right? Hey, that wasn't my fault. Charles Large is, as one would expect, the biggest wrestler on the BWF roster. He's also one of the most thin-skinned. That place was falling apart before we even arrived. Those bowling pin pillars were about as tough as tissue paper. But you did break a pillar in half when Twist whipped you into one, am I right? Seems to you that Trollnonymous can do a troll face just fine without the mask. Well, it's the big show. Charles wrings his hands. Look, I tried to put it back together. And then the roof collapsed. The rest of the table laughs at that, and even Charles joins in after a second. I wasn't there for that one, you admit. Even if I had been, I'd still think you guys were dead wrong. It's got to be... Alright, we're apparently chipping in this dialogue, and we're saying that the worst place is either the Texas Minefield, the Brent High Chapel, or... Okay, actually, that was the worst. You guys are right. The Texas Minefield. The Brent High Chapel. Fucking Trollnonymous. Indie wrestler who wears a troll face mask. I think having the Trollnonymous character who was mentioned earlier now has a bit more detail is I think has completely shattered my engagement in this story. It really has. That was one of those moments that just completely takes you out of the story. Just shaking my head. Bad writing. No, let me get my gag in. Tee-hee. Raffle ponies. Right, immersion power bomb. Gotta put in the figure 8. Anyway, the Texas Minefield is apparently the worst. Achievement. Texas Deathmatch. Reminisce about the most dangerous match ever. Here's an achievement for picking something in the story. Trollnonymous groans and hides his face in his hands. You idiot, I've been trying to block out that memory of that for half a year. You wrestled in a minefield? Sagramore asks, an eyebrow raised with understated British skepticism. Not in the military sense, you reply, more in a do-it-yourself sort of way. It was this booking we took on the side, me, Troll, a few others. It was in this abandoned barn up in the middle of nowhere for the... What did they call the Fed again? Paranoia Pro Wrestling, says Troll Anonymous, which I suppose should have been our first clue. That and all the barbed wire around the property. I just thought they were in a death match, as you say. And they were, but not the intentional kind. You go on to explain that the barn had once been the home of a gun-running conspiracy nut who had been convinced that the government was after him and his weapons, so he'd wired his home with booby traps, ranging from explosive charges to, believe it or not, tripwire-activated crossbows. At first we thought this was all ancient history, you continue. Then the promoter mentioned that they were lucky they were able to finish all their preparations by that morning. Clincher, of course, was when these maintenance guys came running in with a dirty stick of TNT. Anonymous shudders. Far from ideal, says Sagramore. If I may ask, did you two still go on to wrestle? I do like the, no. Accidentally chokeslam a nun in the chapel. Can't bitch out now. Can't. I don't know about this one. I don't know. Maybe this can just be like a sarcastic, of course. To match the British dryness, but no. That's right, it's in the past, so it didn't kill us, and we realized we broke our leg. No! Choice one it is. Of course. Hey, we're professionals, right? Of course we went on, you said. Say, wrestled for a good 20 minutes. It was a mat wrestling clinic. Largely because we were too afraid to do anything that would shake the ring, so no suplexes, no drop kicks, and we're the worst at mat wrestling, of course. That's our weakness. Eyeball on the stats. Hey, we went out 7 ranks. Our technique, our strength. Heck, I don't think the ref even hit the mat when he was counting, you add. Sagramore shakes his head. Well, young lads, usually it's the veteran who has the best stories, but there's nothing I can say that will beat that one. Sagramore raises his glass. Here's to this daft, dastardly life. Fine friends. You and the others raise your glasses to the toast. As you take a drink, though, you can't help but feel relieved. Your next show is at venue that you're familiar with. Trainwreck bookings are hilarious in hindsight, but never fun in the moment. Your next show is with Phoenix Power Slam Pro, a federation that the BWF has held joint events with in the past. And the first independent federation that Sagramore had wrestled with after leaving the GWA. They're more into the extreme style of wrestling than the BWF, but there should be no serious problems. Should be extreme. Of course, there's a first time for everything. Chapter 4. The Old Brit. The Old Brit will begin as soon as Grimith gets a drink. Beverage time. Extreme.
We are at chapter 4. I've been going for 2 hours and change. You know, as I've advanced in my life, I've come to appreciate all the small injuries and nicks and bruises and scratches and scrapes one accumulates. Memories of looking at my grandpa's like arms or my dad's arms and body and like, man, that hasn't healed yet. Anyway, let's bring the game back. Achoo. Chapter 4, The Old Brit. Mueller Albert Ballroom, Quacktown, Pennsylvania. I make that disappear. I did. Very good. What do you drop kicking mean? Why am I... Right, I'm wearing my headset in case alerts happen. Yes. Just thought to myself, like, why am I wearing my headset? It's not like this game has audio. Vinny's already broken one cigar. Right now he's working on grinding the other down into a nub, and who can blame him? Just what I said, says Curtis Jackman. Curtis is one of the stars of Phoenix Power Slam Pro. Or he was. Apparently the owners of PPP had skipped town after the last show a week ago, taking all the ticket sales and wrestlers' wages with them. As a result, Curtis was one of only 3 wrestlers who had shown up for today's joint show at the BWF. So why didn't you drop kick and tell me about this last week? Alright, the promoter who has replaced all slang and profanity with wrestling terminology. I think that's wearing on me too. I think it wouldn't have been so bad if it weren't for Trollnonymous. That just that veered us off into the ocean. Vinny stamps a cigar toward the curtains, beyond which await a restless crowd that's practically spilling out onto the street. Why didn't you tell them? Why didn't you cancel the show? Curtis makes a placating gesture. We've got to go on with the show, man. I need to get that deposit back. I used my money for it, and I'm already in the red. What am I, a leg-dropping charity? And there goes a cigar. Don't use me to clean up your mess. And a show? Vinny flails a hand at you, Sagramore, and 2 other wrestlers. This was supposed to be a joint 3-hour show, you maniac. I bring the star power, you bring the manpower. That was the deal. I only brought 4 wrestlers with me, chop, damn it. And only 2 are worth a damn. Vinny Gator, Master of Morale. I might be able to convince a few others to come in. Maybe. Hopefully. Curtis looks like he's about to cry. Come on, Vinny, show workers some love. Well, why don't we ask the other workers, huh? Put it to a vote. Vinny turns to the 4 of you. All those in favor of royally screwjobbing yourselves, raise your hands. Sagamore raises his hand. Vinny blinks. Listen, Edward, you deserve a better send-off than this, Vinny says. We'll reschedule, but on a show worthy of you. Sagamore shakes his head. This is my last show, Vinny. By hook or by crook. The other 2 wrestlers are fairly new. They look at each other, then look at you. What we gotta do? We gotta raise our hand. We're professional. Sagamore said he's gonna fucking do it. We gotta fucking do it. It's gonna be his last damn match. Raise your hand, because we won't get paid if the tickets get refunded, or shake your head. All those in favor of royally screwjobbing yourselves, raise your hand. We raise both our hands. Just do jazz hands at Vinny. Watcha! Listen here, you power bombing son of a bitch. No, that would be. Listen here, you son of a power bomber. That doesn't sound right. You muscle-busting meathead. Alright. Just replace, like, profanity with, like,
Finishing moves. I will coup de grace kill you. Nice. Nice. Very good, Grimith. I like that. Very inspired. Raise my hand. I'm a professional. You raise your hand with confidence. We came here to put on a show, so let's put on a show, shall we? Two rookies look at each other, grin, then punch their hands in the air. Sagamore claps you on the shoulder and gives you a smile. Vinny shakes his head, then takes out another cigar. You don't know what will happen if he runs out. Well then, geniuses, you guys figure out how to book a 3-hour show with 7 wrestlers. I'll be sitting on the merchandise stands. Vinny walks away, leaving you with the other wrestlers. Curtis turns to Sagamore. What we gotta do, sir? Sagamore places a hand on your shoulder. I'll let the young lad here decide. You blink, what? Sagamore smiles. Vinny sees a bright future for you, Rico, and I agree. It's why he paired us for my last run, so I could train you up. That involves more than giving you a drubbing in the ring. Letting you deal with the ups and downs of the business is another, so show me what you've got. You think that maybe Sagamore is taking your kayfabe feud a bit too literally. The storyline had begun when he announced his retirement at a big show 3 months ago. As he was cutting an emotional promo, thanking the fans for their support through the years, Broken Shell began to blare through the speakers, and you came down to the ring to challenge the old Brit, telling him that it was about time that he retired, that he couldn't compete at your level anymore. You asked him to spare himself embarrassment and simply ceded the title to you. Instead, Sagamore had thrown you out of the ring, then given you 29 chances to beat him, 1 for each year he'd been in the business. That's how title matches work, right? Sure, why not? Your final match is a home weapons match where fans bring in mundane household items, not knives or aluminum bats, or aluminium, or anything too obviously capable of violence, for the wrestlers to use against each other. You can't imagine stretching that match to more than 30 minutes. Fans expect weapons matches to be brutal, but what else can you do to fill the hours? He was worried about a fucking powerbomb and whatever. What else can you do to fill the hours without extending all the matches? So, Sagamore is punting this to us, and so we shouldn't punt this back to him, right? Have extended dueling promo segments disguised than recycle wrestlers? Disguising and recycling is kind of cheap. Alright, looks like we're gonna have extended dueling promo. Ding 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 ding. That's what masks are for. That's right, Sagamore wears a mask, so just have him come out without a mask. Perfect. It'll be flawless. Alright, option 1 it is. We'll double the length of the undercard matches, but we'll open it with dueling promos from me and Sagamore. Says Sagamore. Bold yet risky. It's hard to keep a crowd's interest with an extended talking segment. Only the very best can get away with it. So you're saying you won't have a problem with it then, you say with a smile. Sagamore gives you an answering grin. You just tell me how long you want them at the edge of their seats, young lad. Sagamore tells you that he'd prefer to go first, so when the show begins, Sagamore walks out to the ring without music, the acoustics of the venue making the sound of his boots echo from wall to wall, the usual cheers and jeers of the crowd, eventually growing silent from surprise at this unexpected beginning. We've just transitioned into action here. Sagamore makes his way slowly to the center of the ring, brings the microphone up to his lips and opens his mouth, and closes it again, seemingly overcome by emotion. I'm sorry, it's just hard to believe that this is going to be my last time in a Quacktown ring. There's a chorus of no's and please don't go chants. Sagamore lets it build for a few minutes, then begins to speak in a low, soft voice about his memories of Pennsylvania, and Quacktown in particular. The crowd eats it all up, and from your position behind the curtain, you can see quite a few men and women have begun to tear up. How we feel about that? Here in Quacktown. The last ride. You're really gonna miss him? Power the good promo? Or pfft, marks? Hello, Otaku Shell. Otaku is the friend I saw play this for a little bit way back in the day, but I've progressed further than he has. I've gone into uncharted waters. I just said waters, like my grandma. You're warshrag. You have commitment issues. Well, let me tell you, you've missed out on great characters like Troll Nonibus, whose mask is a troll face. Truly, this story is a gem that deserves to be shared with others. Alright, speaking of gems, we're at a 50-50. I have resolved the 50-50. The power of a good promo. There's nothing like a well-delivered speech to place a match or a wrestler within the right context. You wait for Sagramore himself to begin to tear up, his voice hoarse. Wait for you cue. Wait for you... Anyway. Rain on the parade. There are people who put me, Sagamore says, then clears his throat. Who put me on a pedestal. Sagamore is British, so it makes sense. But I've always taken the most pride in just being an entertainer and entertaining all of you. Because it's the least I can do after all you've given me. That's a rare moment where I didn't dismiss that poll box. That'll happen more times, I'm sure. Surprised it hasn't happened more. But I've always taken the most pride in just being an entertainer. Entertaining all of you. Because it's the least I can do after all you've given me. I am a proud man. Before you now, in the presence of all of you, I am well and truly humbled. Thank... Our character comes out to the song that speaks about ambition and how we're deserving of more and greatness. You saunter to the ring. Mock clapping as the crowd boos and Sagramore scowls. Alright. Got to draw on the knowledge of Sagamore's career, use the pro ability to vote, draw a parallel between the old Brit and Quacktown. Yes, Danny, the viewers voted that, we are a heel who has power moves and some promo skills, comes out in the purple and silver singlet. But, we drove responsibly and did not drink alcohol. Yes. Very important. We're telling a great story. A number of the viewers, put kayfabe in the search engine. Oh, that choice happened very early in the game. Vinny could have booked us as a good person. Alright, a narrow poll here. Choice 3 wins. Draw a parallel between the old Brit and Quacktown. You enter the ring, the chants and jeers, "You suck, Rico! You suck, Rico! Whatever. I don't even care enough to put that in good heart. Sagamore looks at the crowd, then back at you. Sounds like you're not welcome here, young lad. You run your gaze around the arena, the boos reaching crescendo. Of course not! It's you they cheer, and you know what? I'm glad, old man. I'm glad for that, and let me tell you why. It's because you and this bottom of the barrel waste of space of a town belong together. You try to use your promo to draw insulting parallels between Sagamore and Quacktown. Something about joblessness and retirement and being old, and it just doesn't gel. Maybe it's the fact that this is the longest promo you've ever had to do. Maybe it's because you feel pressured by Sagamore's stellar performance. Either way, you simply can't get the words to come out right. 5 minutes into it, you feel as if you're losing the crowd. 10 minutes into it, you hear the... I'm a level with you folks. If I heard someone monologue at me for that long... just left out here to drown. That's what we did. We drowned. Maybe, folks, if we were going to have an epic diss like that, we would have needed to have some more promo ability. It has gone up, though, so there is that. You had to be there, of course. Of course. Of course. Summer, that is... Summer. No. Got to be winter and snow all over you. Behave. Anyway. We killed some time, but, not good entertainment. The rest of the first half of the show goes off remarkably well, all things considered. Well, he is in the WWE Hall of Fame. Soon enough, it's time for the intermission. Normally, you'd be out there with the others. That's not a joke. Selling your merchandise to the fans. But when you started the angle with Sagamore, Vinny decided that when you started the angle with Sagamore, Vinny decided that you and the old Brit needed to be kept away from the fans until after your match. Instead, some of the BWF staff are in charge of selling your merchandise and promising those who purchase the photos, posters, and postcards that the signing will take place after the main event. So you spend the intermission in the locker room, stretching in anticipation for your last match with Sagamore. Almost as soon as you've begun, he comes in and takes a seat on a bench across from you. You raise a hand in greeting. He leans against one of the lockers, looking at you, judging that promo, wondering where he's gone wrong in the months you've spent together. But it was a very long promo. Not something Vinny has really worked into you yet. It's good to have that experience, though. Especially in Whacktown, the middle of fucking nowhere. No one will remember it. He seems not tired, but free of tension, content with where he is. It's a rare, quiet moment, and you're once again struck by the thought that in some small way, you're now part of the Sagamore legend. You think that any wrestler, whether or not a fan of the old Brit, would feel some awe at being present at the very end of his storied career. You feel the urge to ask him a question. Alright, chat? Question time. I know you fucking love questions. We always go through this shit in any sort of fucking choice democracy that we have. Fucking question time. Just about every damn situation. No matter what it is we do. Questions! I love questions! Tell me more! I'm like, why? Why must you make me read more? But in this particular situation, we can't just say, no, I don't feel like asking questions. We are beholden to ask. And so we shall. 3 wins, convincingly. Any regrets here at the end? I mean, it all really seems like the same stuff. Similar. Vibe. Whatever. Undoubtedly there would be, and there's a story behind each. That's what you'd like to hear. Sagamore closes his eyes, and for a moment you think that he isn't going to answer. Then... I've seen a lot of things in 3 decades of wrestling. Been a lot of things. Been on top, but at the very bottom. Did shitty promos like yours. Do you know, young lad, I've known some workers who count the number of miles they travel. Always seemed a bit of a waste to me. That's not the number that matters. When I started out, what I tried to keep track of was the number of hours I spent in ring in front of a crowd. I lost track at around 10,150. The old Brit holds up a calloused hand, the skin still tight, but showing plenty of wear and tear. What can a man create in 10,000 hours, do you think? A temple, a garden, a fortune, a family? I've made nothing so concrete. What I have to show are the only 3 things this business of ours can promise. Fans, friends, and foes. Sagamore holds up 3 fingers, then ticks them off one by one. The first group seldom know my face, much less the real me. The second only become that when you stop being a threat to their position on the card. He stares at the sole remaining finger. But foes, foes, you can always count on them. My foes are what get me out of bed in the morning. Every match is another chance to make them eat crow, to prove them wrong, to show him that if you... Why are you transitioning pronouns here? Whatever. To show him that if he'd only booked you well, given you a fair shake, you would have balanced the costs, justified his beliefs. Sagamore suddenly takes a sharp, deep breath, realizing he was on his feet. Or maybe realizing that he had gone from a general indictment to a rant against an unnamed he. Okay, I'm glad. This was by design. Very good. I apologize, lad. That was unprofessional of me. Sagamore shakes his head. I won't miss this life, but I regret the fact that leaving it will mean some wrongs will never be made right. Do we say we understand? Say, wow, I should just retire with you. Not your place to speak. The last time we spoke to him, instead of keeping silent, was when we had an interaction, said, good match, and he's like, no, I haven't had a good match in 2 fucking decades, asshole. Yes, I think so, Meadow Slime Hunt, that's right. All part of a cunning ruse. All right. 75%. Summer? I don't know. Until I get tired of this game's bullshit, possibly. Or until I'm done speaking. Beats me. Before Sagamore can say anything more, could be the end of this chapter, could be the end of the next one. Things have gone very, very pleasantly well. Very pleasantly well, yes. You hear a respectful knock on the door. Sam peeps in. Hey, Sam McEnroe. It's been a while. Looking for all the world like he'd rather be anywhere else. You wonder how much he overheard. Sorry to bother you, but Rico has an old friend here to see him. Me, you say? That must be a mistake. You don't know anyone in the area. You sure this isn't like that time in Texas? Oh, I'm sure you know this guy. You turn to Sagamore, but he's already waving you off. Go on, we have some time before you take my title. He smiles. Vinny sent word that he wants to talk to me before we head out anyway. You exchange a handshake with the old Brit, and let Sam lead you out into the backstage foyer. There's a lot of activity preparing for the resumption of matches, but you don't see your visitor in the throng. You're about to ask Sam just who is here to see you, when a pair of huge arms wrap themselves around you. With a grunt, you break free of the bear hug and turn around with fists raised, ready to fight. Then both your fist and your jaw drop. Chris? As strong as ever, I see, the big Samoan laughs. It's brilliant! It's brilliant to see you? Not good, not great, not wonderful, not awesome. Brilliant! It's correct, but the two of you exchange a more proper hug, with a side order backslapping for good measure. Are you surprised? He's Samoan. Can't be an Australian Samoan, that's not how that works. Are you surprised? Chris grins. You are, aren't you? That's an understatement. Chris hadn't been the same after the car accident, even if you'd been the one behind the wheel and never drank alcohol that night. That was storytelling, Danny. Storytelling. Jamacan. Chris had been overwhelmed with guilt. He'd given up amateur wrestling, as well as his dream of becoming a professional wrestler, much to the disappointment of his family. He'd kept in touch, but he refused to talk about wrestling at all, which made for rather limited conversation given your career and interests. In spite of your friendship, He was probably the last person you expected to see at a wrestling show. What are you doing here? I was in the area on business, he says. I heard that you were wrestling Sagramore. Sagramore! How could I miss it? Easily, given his disavowal of all things wrestling for the past few years. You wonder if you should bring that up, or just take it as a good sign. I like that third one there. I don't want to know, but feel I obliged to ask. We must feel I. Caveman, Rico. Unsure what this feel is. Feel I? Alright. We feel. So be it. Listen. Don't think I'm not touched that you're here, but you've sworn off any interest in wrestling for years. What's changed since then? What are you saying, huh? His face takes on a hurt expression. I can't decide to come and see a friend. I'm not saying that. You hold up your hands while mentally cursing. I'm just surprised, that's all. And, well, surprising you was the point. I assumed it would be a good surprise, but apparently I was wrong. Oh, God, now he's pouting. You can tell your old friend is being evasive, but if he's this defensive about something, it's usually not worth the effort to draw him out. Okay. Let's just start over. You say, at which point he wraps you in a bear hug again. Not literally, you moron! You say. But you're laughing. So, he says after he releases you, wrestling Sagamore. Awesome? Or super awesome? Tell him about the past few months, and he responds to this trademark disproportionate excitement, and soon it's like good old times again. Except during those good old days. There were 3 of you. Neither of you mentioned JJ, and even as you're enjoying the conversation, a specter of your former friend's absence weighs on you. He heard of your match with Sagamore, and he's heard of JJ quickly becoming one of GWA's fastest rising stars. Heck, you've tried to avoid tracking JJ's career, but it's just proved impossible not to hear about. Especially after he won the Alpha Lock Championship. JJ is a favorite topic of the scoop sheets, fan bloggers, even the other wrestlers. You've even seen people wearing his official shirt during your shows. You always make sure to single out those fans when you're taunting the crowd. You can't help but wonder if Grizz has been in touch with JJ as well. Finally, you can't suppress your curiosity any longer and decide to approach the topic from an angle. So, have you had a chance to watch Wednesday Night Wrestling recently? Have you got your match all worked out for later? You blink. Well, the basics, sure. A lot will depend on the weapons the fans bring, and Sagamore tends to call a lot on the fly. Oh man, I'd be so nervous winging it with Forrest Dundee in the audience, but at least Sagamore's one of the— Hey! Unthinking, you'd grab Chris by the collar and pull him down to your eye level. What did you say? Chris looks confused. You mean that Sagamore's one of the— No, the other part! Dundee is here? Now? Yeah. You didn't know? And he saw our shitty promo! Forrest Dundee has been the chief booker for the GWA's flagship show, Wednesday Night Wrestling, and before that, Wednesday Warzone, for the better part of 2 decades. A well-regarded wrestler in his own right, known as Ichabod, before an untimely leg injury. He is said to have both a brilliant wrestling mind and an ice-cold heart. Everything to him is a matter of quantifiable value. Ratings, buy rates, and social media rankings. He will sacrifice anyone's career for the betterment of the GWA as a whole. He is rarely found outside the GWA's corporate headquarters in New York, and he usually leaves recruitment to his team of talent relation executives. The rumor has it that he occasionally ventures out into the world to personally vet particularly promising recruits. One of those chosen ones, according to scoop sheets, had been none other than JJ Havoc. After much prodding, Chris accompanies you to the bleachers area and points out a rail-thin man seated at ringside. He's wearing dark glasses and a hat, but you can see him fondling the handle of his trademark cane. You feel yourself start to hyperventilate. This is it! This is your big chance! What are you gonna do, Rico? Ah! Can we manage to be practical? Are we just gonna go over our match? Just go over the match. Maybe we should go over the match. Maybe we should ask for advice. Maybe we should ask for advice. Maybe we should ask for advice. They're more like you. It's gonna be like a big recruiter. Vinny will understand. Vinny will understand. We leave promotion, try to go to a different promotion. We come up. Chat divided here. The Shucklefucks agree, though. Asking Vinny for advice is a terrible idea. Even if Shucklefuck suddenly decide to slip in votes there for wait, like Trollnonymous would. It's a bad idea. A fist fight. You'll have a drop-kicking good time. Alright. Option 3 wins. All you can really control is your performance in the match. Maybe running through it with Sagamore one more time will help iron out any kinks. Excusing yourself, you leave Gris in the bleachers and return backstage. After an hour of fruitless searching, we spend a lot of time looking for people. There was like a half hour spent looking for Sam. There's no one at this fucking promotion! There's a total of 7 wrestlers, and we're one of them. Like, there's not a lot of people here backstage. How do we have to spend an hour finding this secluded alcove near a storage room? Like, this place isn't that big. It might as well be named Warm Spit, Pennsylvania. My immersion! Anyway, an hour of fruitless searching. We must not have been searching that hard. You find Sagamore speaking with Vinny in a secluded alcove near a storage room. Immediately you can tell that something is wrong. Vinny looks so upset that he's not even chopping a cigar. Have we seen that happen before? And Sagamore's face might as well have been carved out of stone for all the emotion that it shows. Yes, delve into the caves of Quack. Have got to think about the future of the promotion and of the... Who's been drawing the crowds for the past 3 years? Sagamore's voice is cold and low. Who lent you the cash when Jody ran off with all your savings? The old Brit steps toward Vinny, looming over him. I want this, and you'll give it to me. And even after you've done that, you'll still be in my debt. Do we understand each other? Vinny raises his arms in disgust and spits on the floor, then walks away. He sees you standing there and pauses for a moment, then shakes his head sadly. I'm sorry, kid, he says as he passes you. He lays a hand on your shoulder for a moment and walks away. We'll fix this when he's gone. I swear it. One too many cues. Now it's just you and Sagamore in the alcove. The old Brit is breathing heavily and appears lost in thought. Then he shakes himself and meets your eyes. Change of plans, he says. I'm going over tonight. I'm retiring as champion. This angle we've worked through. I suppose if we couldn't beat him like the other 24+ times, and after that promo showing, because we clearly showed how well we were at booking this pay-per-view, right? Number 3 questions. Heroes ask, what does going over mean? Well, by context, if nothing else. Him retiring as champion would mean that Rico's not going to defeat Sagamore to become champion. Alright. We'll hear him out. I'm looking forward to accidentally, clicking on next one time as I, go back to the game window. You cross your arms, not saying a word. That can't be all he has to say. The old Brit arches his back and cracks his neck. We'll go 10 minutes. I'll send you out of the ring with a clothesline early, and we'll do one round of weapons up past aisle A, then through C back to the ring. I'll hit you with a chair for a pin. Got it? You listen to the old Brit with a sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. That's not a match. That's a squash. After all the time that we had to spend extending this pay-per-view as well, right? You know, like, we had this conversation before at the start. I think, Unbelievable, my Stanford treasure is I attack sacrifice. Hold on. I'll set a pull-up in a moment. Just give me a moment. What I'm thinking is that Sagamore is also, like, severely reacting to Forrest Dundee being in the crowd. And, having a moment there. But, you know, who can say what his motivations really are for him to suddenly change his tone like this, anyway? With some trepidation... I'd be interested in having him explain himself. In part, that does adhere to, like, the inherent desire to ask questions, right? But, as expected, there is a strong showing for, just flat-out attacking him. Which would certainly be one way for the story to go. Would also not be the first time we had, game overed one of these choose-your-own-adventure stories. You may recall, if you were around for Mecha Ace, we actually game overed that and had to roll back. Because, viewer democracy had taken us into a no-win. We also lost our hand, and basically didn't get back that functionality until the prologue. Okay. We'll hear him out. Ask him to explain himself. Wait, what's going on here? You take a step towards Sagamore, your arms spread. You were completely behind me going over just a few minutes ago. Where's this coming from? Sagamore shakes his head. It's none of your... Don't give me that. We've been wrestling against each other for 4 months now. You know I'm a pro. I'll do the job if I need to, but at least tell me why. Sagamore shakes his head again, but it's clear that you're getting to him. He won't meet your eyes. Listen, it's no big deal. You'll get the title at the next event, and I'm sure Vinny will spend the next year making you a superstar. Just not tonight. It's not the same, you say, and you know it. This was supposed to be a passing of the torch. It's what you wanted. What I wanted changed, Sagamore says, pushing past you. That's the nature of the business, young lad. The sooner you get used to that, the easier it'll be for you. And then he is gone. We just walk out. For a long moment, you just stand there in the alcove, breathing deeply, your hands clenching and unclenching. Your thoughts are whirlwind of whirling chaos in your head. You think of the title, of the crowd, of JJ and Gris and Forrest Dundee. You think of the Sagamore you remember from many barroom celebrations. The contented man you saw earlier in the locker room. The stone-faced traitor whom you just met. Then you hear Sagamore's music playing, and the chorus of cheers that greets him as he walks down the ramp. Enough thinking. Decision time. What are you going to do about the match? That's what I like in the stream. Like, next time. Bailing on the match, while tempting, is not an option at this point. Like, Vinny had asked before this entire show whether we were going to be out, and we've already fucking committed up to this point. You owe Vinny that much, and besides, word would get around, and however Sagamore came out of it, you'll be seen in just as bad of a light if you leave a show in the lurch. No, the way you see it, you have 3 choices. Maybe 4. You can, of course, simply lie down and do the job. It is the most professional thing to do. and the one that would cause the least problems backstage. But you'll also be waiving your chances of impressing Forrest Dundee goodbye. You could also let yourself be squashed, but show off your athleticism, and protest the booking at the same time by overselling, or reacting in an absurdly exaggerated manner to all of Sagamore's moves, as has been mentioned in chat. But you'll need to have good timing and technique to pull that off. Technique was the chat selected weakness. Alternatively, you can try to somehow force Sagamore to have a good match. He can't squash you if you don't let him. However, you'd be gambling that Sagamore would rather let you undermine his plan than simply walk away. And you're not sure how well you know that, Sagamore, anymore. Of course, part of you wishes you could simply march down to the ring and legitimately attempt to beat the old Brit up. But you're not sure if you have it in you to throw script and kayfabe hour the window and turn the match into an actual fight. And based on the choices we've selected thus far, we do not have that as an option. We cannot turn the match into an actual fight. Maybe if we threw hands at Sagamore earlier. But we've been very respectful of him up to this point. So, 3 choices it is. We're gonna get squashed, oversell, or force him to have a good match. Our promo wasn't sizzling at the start, unfortunately. What we have is power. Damn it. We fought with him for over all these months, learning and studying his moves. Yeah. Use our strengths, literally. Very good, chat. That's another unanimous one. We've had 3 unanimous ones tonight. A rare showing from you all. When you really think about it, Sagamore's made one big mistake here. He thinks he's negotiating from a position of strength. Sure, that may be true backstage, but once you get to the ring, Sagamore is the one with more to lose from a bad performance. He is the one with the legendary reputation, and tonight is his big final match. You need 2 wrestlers working together to put on a show, even a squash. If the only way he can get you to actually engage him is by having an actual match with you, what other choice will we have? Of course, if you thought the old Brit was being stiff with you before. But you are out of options. You'll give Sagamore the win in the end, but not before he lets you show the GWA brass what you can do. This is your shot, and you're not going to squander it on the whim of a retiring wrestler. Legend or not. You make your way to the curtain as Broken Shell fills the arena. You roll your shoulders, bounce on your toes, your breathing slow and controlled as you wait for your cue. You realize then that while you can feel adrenaline coursing through your veins like blood, an enveloping calm has descended upon you. You've made your choice, and now it's time to see it through. Sagamore's time is over. Flesh is weak, earth is weak, breakthrough! Yours is just beginning, you think, as you step through the curtain. Rico sucks! The crowd lets you have it at the moment they catch sight of you, thinking about how bored they were when you came out earlier. This entire show has not had much in the way of wrestling entertainment. Still, sneer at the crowd, flex muscles, glare. We got some muscles. Flex them. Flex. Acha. I know, just go shoot. Prepare ourselves for challenging solitary. Assuming JJ doesn't beat him up. Jasper Bloody Delgado. Summer just bought this game. Why? Why would you support this, Summer? Oh. Oh, shit. Alright. Fine. Yeah, well. Finds a way, I guess. Alright, speaking of finding a way. Narrowly, I don't think this much matters. We're gonna flex the muscles. Let's do it. You show off a physique that most folk in the crowd can only dream of. The crowd boos their disapproval. You saunter down the ramp slowly, bad-mouthing the fans along the ramp, questioning their intelligence, their style, their status as human beings. You set your sights on an old lady with a ludicrously oversized purse, I read ahead a bit, waving a pennant with Sagramore's 3-star emblem. You mock her enthusiastic flag waving, lolling your tongue like a dog with its head out the window. That's when she reaches into her purse, takes out a porcelain vase, and hurls it at your head. The old lady hurls that vase, and it slams into your skull, sending you reeling. Thankfully, it doesn't shatter until it hits the floor at your feet. You shake your head, trying to clear your vision, but then realize you're not just seeing stars, but blood as well. The crazy old bat cuts you open. You regain your senses just as security's escorting the old lady out of the arena. Feel a stab of pity, until you realize that one of the bouncers is holding something else they must have confiscated from her. A lead pipe. I know, right, Plump? Come on, Rico. You slide into the ring quickly. Who knows how many other arm crazes out there? You know, it makes more sense that we'll lose. The crowd is so on Sagramore's side they're actually hurting us. You wipe off the blood as best as you can and head to the center of the ring. Sagramore and the referee are waiting. Sagramore offers his hand. As the two of you shake hands, the referee turns the order the bell rung. Sagramore tries to pull away, but you maintain your grasp and pull him closer to you. I don't care if you win, you whisper, but you're going to give me a 5-star match, or I'm no selling. Sagamore's eyes narrow. You wouldn't dare. No selling means that you won't react to his moves, won't assist him in any way. Plenty of stories of that happening in the ring in old times. Send Lex Luger running in terror. You'd ruin your reputation. I'm young. You shrug. I can rebuild it. But this is your last match. That how you'd really like to go out? In response, Sagramore whips you into the ropes. Instead of rebounding, you grab the ropes and lean back against them, watching Sagramore. You slowly walk back toward him, and once again have a stare down in the middle of the ring. The old Brit is practically apoplectic. You traitorous, blackmailing punk. Traitorous? Oh, fuck you. There's your poll. I'm putting it a choice. That's right, Chad. Use the muscles. Ring, ring. I know, Lethal. You want to bring the fist upon him? Fist. Traitorous. If only. Anyway, that was a good poll, everyone. I'm glad we had it. The slap gets a hot reaction from the crowd, but as it turns out, it may not have been the smartest of moves. You'd meant to answer disrespect for disrespect and to wake Sagramore up to the fact that you weren't going to play things his way. You hadn't intended for it to make the old Brit snap. With a roar, Sagramore charges you and begins hammering away with punches that are intended to inflict pain, not entertain. Even at his advanced age, Sagramore is as strong as an ox, and the element of surprise means you're unable to defend yourself from the onslaught. You take several hard blows to the stomach and one to the face before he hurls you over the top rope. By the time you get to your feet, he is outside of the ring as well and heading toward you with murder in his eyes and a weapon in his hand. You wanted a match, but it looks like you're getting a fight instead. So be it. How we looking? We look better. We look better. Sagramore has managed to get his hands on a Teflon frying pan. You look around, well, there are dozens of fans waving around more odds and ends than you'd find at a packed garage sale. You quickly narrow your choices down to 3 things. Alright, chat. Fucking fight with Sagramore here. We pick a wooden 2x4 metal garage can lid or a plastic doll. Use it as a shield to deflect his Teflon frying pan. We're not gonna hacksaw Jim Duggan him. Oh. Plastic doll. Turns out that's the most OP option. Probably an achievement for that. Fear the 2x4 leads to jail. I don't think incarceration should be on our list of concerns right now. We actually made him snap. It's gonna go great. Anyway. You take the lid and adopt an offensive strategy, fully intent on waiting out his initial onslaught and pouncing on any mistake. But you underestimated his fury, and he eventually hits you so hard that he forces the lid away from your body, leaving you open to taking a resounding blow to the head with the back of the pan. You stumble backwards, hands over your head, your cranium throbbing. He doesn't give you space to breathe, just hammering away. Finally, you're able to kick it from his hand. With one hand pressed against your head, you back into the crowd and scrabble for a new weapon. So much for that, hey, he's pissed, let's let him wear himself out strategy. Now he just beats you to hell. You and Sagramore, how we looking? Great. You and Sagramore engage in a melee up and down the aisles, the crowd on its feet pumped at what many likely assume is simply the stiffest, most realistic match they've ever seen. You and the old Brit are both bleeding from multiple lacerations, and neither of you is moving. Indeed not, Plump. Old Lady Vase did not help either, I'm sure. Neither of you is moving with anything resembling grace. Now, however, Sagramore has a distinct advantage. Some crazy in the crowd managed to get an aluminum bat, or as Sagramore would say it, aluminium, to the venue. He is swinging it in a menacing arc in front of him. You know, in the aisles. You look around you. I wonder how often the crowd is seen like Sagramore like this. You look around you and don't see a lot of objects that you could use to even the score. There's a long mop that would give you a reach advantage, but would be unwieldy if you're not strong enough. Some fan conveniently brought a baseball bat, which could be deadlier than a bat if you have the skill. Alternatively, you could get back into the ring to get some separation, and watch for an opportunity to attack. You and Sagramore enters the ring, because that's worked out so well for us. Waiting. Well, I mean, we were primarily a strength person. And not primarily a technique person. That was the weakest of the options, as chosen by viewer democracy earlier. Alright. Looks like we're rolling with using the mop. Clean up an aisle, go fuck yourself. Maybe. Use a mop on an opponent. You heft the mop in your hands. The sight of you with the mop gives Sagramore some pause, but he continues to close the distance. Both he and you know that this is the end game, and neither of you have much more left in the tank. He charges, bat swinging wildly. You shift your grip on the mop's handle, then with a surge of strength, you jab it quickly and accurately into his midsection. He folds, gasping, and drops to his knees. You stand over him. It's heavy, but that doesn't bother you. You bounce it almost weightlessly from hand to hand. Heavy just means it'll hurt Sagramore more. You lift the mop high and bring the end of the wooden shaft down hard on Sagramore's back. Shit! Achievement spoilers! Sagramore screams and crumples to the floor, his back arched, his face contorted in agony. Give me a 5 count, you tell the ref. But isn't Sagamore supposed to be one who... Start counting. When the ref starts counting, Sagamore tries to stand, but his back is simply too painful. The third time he tries and collapses, the ref has the bell rung, either to prevent further damage or further embarrassment. The old Brit. You take the BWF Championship belt from the ref and squat in front of Sagamore. The old man is grimacing in pain, but still musters the strength to curse you. You just smile and show him the title. That's right, Plump. Then raise it up high over your head. The crowd is confused by the sudden finish of the match, but it's beginning to dawn upon a number of them just what it is you've done. As you walk down the ramp, you pass Vinny running towards Sagamore with a bunch of the boys who know first aid. He pauses long enough to spit in your direction. "You'll never work in this business again," Vinny snarls. How do we react to Vinny here? Your loss? Neither will Sagamore? I did what I had to do. Or say nothing. I've done the talking with my fists. I like all these options except 3. 4 is the stoic thing that the viewers have selected a few times. 2 is just a beautiful clapback. 1 is like, you know, our loss. Oh, shit. And just think, chat. Democracy had merely wanted a great match out of Sagamore, and it turns out that we pissed him off. And it turned into a legit fight. Anyway, we've done the talking with our fists. You enter the backstage area, and note how quickly everybody else there scuttles away from you, even those you'd been friendly with that morning. One figure, however, does not retreat. Instead, Forrest Dundee steps forward and extends his hand. Dundee introduces himself, then shakes your hand. You don't seem to have made a lot of friends here. I don't think he's here to make small talk. Or we could come across as almost petulant. They turned on me! Everyone betrayed me! This chapter started off rough and it ended up rougher, huh? We were just gonna go out of our way to smooth over the match with Sagamore and not worry too much about impressing Forrest Dundee, and then you're more thinking of a if you turn on me, this is what happens vibe. I could see that. Instead of it becoming across as like a petulant, and they turned on me, it's like, yeah. Forrest Dundee can probably piece that together. Sagamore just very spiteful. Well, Sagamore just very... He didn't handle that well. Did we handle it well? Well, we won. And that's what matters, right? JJ knows. Well, be that as it may. As I predicted, a meaningless choice. It seems you do have a friend in the GWA. Dundee turns away slightly, then looks at you from the corner of his eye. JJ Havoc speaks very highly of you. Chat wanted to know what was in the box, but he wouldn't say why he changed his mind. That does seem appropriate for chat to be angry when we play questions with someone and they don't give you the answers. And so that's when chat like snaps in rage. Hey, our ranking went up. We're a legend killer, like Randy Orton, baby. Just RKO'd Sagamore with a mop. Okay. And what do you think, Forrest Dundee? What JJ thinks really isn't the issue here. Dundee shrugs. Here's what I think. I've seen that you have a mean streak that will either propel you to the top or get you murdered someday when some of the boys catch you alone backstage at a house show. Dundee takes a few steps away from you, cane tip-tapping on the floor. Then he turns back to you with a small smile. Fortunately for you, the decision was already made before I arrived here. Dundee reaches into a pocket and takes out an envelope. You open it and see a plane ticket. We're in the middle of filming a new show called Nearfall Academy. It's a reality show where contestants live together and run through an accelerated iteration of our developmental system. Finale will be live on an episode of Wednesday Night Wrestling, and the winner will immediately join the active GWA roster. Here we are with, like, this promotions championship in hand, having taken out a legend. You stare at the ticket. Your jaw dropping. Holy crap! You try to focus, hide those options, on what Dundee is saying, but your mind is already whirling at 100 miles a minute. You'll be coming in mid-season, so to speak, but I was told that you wouldn't mind having the odds stacked against you. Not if it means a chance that in 3 months' time you'll be living your dream. Dundee notices your shell-shocked expression, and the fact that your hands have begun to tremble. He smirks. So, do I take that for a yes? Yes.
Yes! 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 I can do this! I can win! Yes!
Alright. That seems like an appropriate time. Chapter 5, The Brass Ring. Can wait. Rico is a legend killer. Yes? Alright. In 3 hours, we've built a legacy. Became champ. We didn't engage Sagamore in the shoot fight. He started it. We finished it. And Vinny, who said we'd never work in this business again, well, we're angling for higher than Mick. We're just misunderstood, right? We tried to do things the right way. And then the veteran told us that we just had to learn how the business worked. And then we introduced him to other gainful employment. We future endeavored him. Was he right? We actually gained a bit more of this. Rank 62, technique 45%, promo ability 55%. I don't think that was the best show that could have ever been done. Our promo game wasn't super strong, but we had the strength. A promo ability would not have saved us in that old man strength blitzkrieg. But being able to wield a mop and beat the hell out of Sagamore. That's right. It was good times. We'll do this again at some point. We've told an interesting story. I don't know whether the game has, or choose your own individual novel, but we've done it. I don't know when the next broadcast of this will be. Maybe tomorrow, same time. No, can't be tomorrow, same time. I've got a role-playing game tomorrow. Could still be tomorrow, just starts later. Maybe Saturday. We'll find out. We will find out. Oh well. I run on my own time. That does take care of the show, though. We out.